The One Nation of Gamers Circuit Open number 9. I am Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by the Tannen Grace. Tannen, how are you doing today on this fine sunny afternoon? It's here in California, but I hear you're back out in Louisiana now.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I did just move home. I'm in very sunny Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's very humid here. I got my brand new place, my brand new computer. Life is good, man. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Yeah, it's doing fantastic as always out here. Lots of casting going on, and of course, I always love doing the One Nation Gamers Circuit. A lot of talent consistently finding itself in these top 4 of this event. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at top 4 of this event. So to talk about the One Nation Gamers Circuit as a whole, it consists of 10 open events that have $1,000 prize pools. Those 10 open events can feed into the feature events, which there's 5 of those being held, and they have $6,000 prize pools. You can advance to one of the feature events by either winning an open tournament or by earning enough GEICO points to compete in the tournament. So even if you're not winning the open tournaments you're playing in, you're still earning GEICO points, and that's a way to qualify for that. And those points can also lead into the grand final that's happening, where if you win one of the feature events, you make it into that grand final at PAX Prime with a $25,000 prize pool, which is insane to think about. Now, it is only open to U.S. residents, and you need to be 18 or older. But if you're in that situation, really encourage you to sign up for it. You can visit geico.onog.gg and sign up for the event. I believe there's one more event that's taking place on August 2nd, and then that feeds into the 5th and final feature, which is August 4th, 5th, and 6. And I've been told that Trump will be competing in that one. So for you fans out there of Trump, something to look forward to. But yeah, this top 4 of this event has had some pretty consistent finishers in them. And PhoneTap is definitely one of the guys who constantly makes it to this open portion. It's going to be PhoneTap versus Yo It's Flow coming up first. And then Fatalocity versus Nicolina is going to be our second match here for the day. But PhoneTap, man, let's talk about this guy for a second, because he has just been such a grinder, not only in open tournaments in general, but sort of specifically with the One Nation of Gamers stuff. We see him bringing Druid, Warrior, and Warlock, which isn't really much of a surprise. Again, he likes to play those power decks. Sort of, what's your take on this guy and everything you've seen from him over the past few months?
Well, I mean, the first time I ever heard of PhoneTap was his big win. I think it was about a year and a half ago now. God, it feels like it was, only a few months ago. But, he kind of burst onto the scene that way. And then, you kind of expected too much. Whenever someone wins a tournament, you're like, oh, he should be winning everything. And that's just not how Hearthstone works. But I think the name of the game for him is consistent. It's like you said, you just see him showing up in these top 4s and top 8s all the time. And I think that's something that we don't celebrate enough in Hearthstone is consistency of some players. Yeah, championships are great, but some of these guys, they're constantly there. I mean, think of Chalky. He finally got his first big win this year, but he was always there, super consistent player. And this guy's that kind of player in my mind.
Yeah, PhoneTap does have that ESL Legendary Series win under his belt, and that was kind of like his first really big appearance. But ever since then, I've constantly seen him in top 4 of events. And Yo It's Flow is a player I'm really familiar with from ladder. I've played against a lot of Flow on ladder, and just been such a very tight player in that regard. Like, kind of really understanding his win conditions and putting me in uncomfortable spots every time I played against him. I've never really had the pleasure of watching him play in a tournament perspective, though. I can't actually ever recall seeing him getting camera time at some point.
The same boat for me. I know that he's a big ladder player. I think I've seen you actually play him on your stream before. Yeah, I've seen this guy on multiple people's streams. I think he just plays Hearthstone all the time. One of those guys, just constant grinder. And maybe he finally decided, I'm gonna start playing tournaments. And here we go, right away. We got the decks up.
Yeah, it's gonna be Hunter versus Warrior. I'm sorry, Druid versus Warrior. Is what it says. We'll get it fixed as quickly as possible. This is a Druid mirror match that's taking place, and this is something we've kind of seen a trend from with Druid over the past couple of weeks as well, is kind of moving towards these token versions. A lot of Cthulhu was there, say 5-6 weeks ago, and since then it's really moved into this Yogg token Druid build. Now the mirror match for this feels like it can get a little bit crazy, but give us sort of the breakdown of this deck at its basic level.
You're trying to ramp still. I mean, just like every Druid deck that's ever been around, but it kind of revolves around stuff like Violet Teacher now and getting more value out of your cards. You have these ramp spells at the end of the game that aren't dead when you draw them because you're getting these 1/1s off Violet Teacher, and you get some advantage that way. There's pump spells in the deck. You're still seeing stuff like Savage Roar to finish off the games, and it can play wider than Druid decks have in the past. It doesn't just make one large minion anymore. It makes a bunch of minions. And then it still has really powerful end game. You saw an Onyxia in some person's hand. You have Yogg in almost every version of this deck. So it's just a more value-centric Druid deck instead of just making one big minion and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, with that value, though, there's still always the potential for those crazy openers. Here we see Flow go ahead and innervate out Violet Teacher on turn 1, and of course followed by the Wild Growth. I'm certain that was a big influencer for using the Violet Teacher so early. But, with the loss of Ancient of Lore kind of being that was its main card draw engine, Druid had to search for sort of a new way to find that value, and it really feels like token is just the way to do it.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. This is the dream start, actually, for So I play this deck a lot. The turn 1 Violet Teacher, if they kill it, sometimes you're just out of gas, but he's going to be able to Wild Growth into Mire Keeper, and this is with an Azure Drake and a Wrath behind it, so he's going to continue to have gas. This is a nightmare opener for PhoneTap to play against.
Yeah, I mean, you can see just the kind of the panic move. I mean, he needs to mulch this early on to keep from just losing complete control of the game. And Flo kind of really in an interesting spot here, too. Chooses to go with the Mana Crystal off Mire Keeper rather than the 2/2. So the board pressure meaning a little bit less to him at this point and just wanting to get to those big mana turns and start playing out those huge, heavy spells. I mean, a lot of times Wisp of the Old Gods is in here. Like you mentioned, we saw Nixie in his opening hand. I imagine there's quite a bit of top end in here, and that's going to require him to be playing Nourish, using Azure Drakes, getting value out of him the turn he's playing him. A lot of things going on in this game.
Yeah, I was kind of interested to see that he made the Mana Crystal there because here's the thing. It makes this turn awkward, right? You have 6 mana now, and you have 5 mana spells. I mean, I guess you could Master of Disguise plus Wrath this turn, but what are you going to Master of Disguise? The 1/1 after trading and using Wrath to kill Druid of the Claw here? but it does get him to Yogg-Saron a turn sooner in this game, and he's going to have possibly a little less resources than Phone Tap when it gets to that point. There's a very good chance that he might, be running out of gas, and he thinks that Yogg is the way that he's going to finish off the game from this point. So maybe that's what he's thinking by, going with the Mana Crystal there.
Yeah, there's also sort of like the multi-level play here too, where this could be like a multi-turn setup where I think he's fine to play Azure Drake this turn if he wants. Azure Drake obviously very easily run over by the Druid of the Claw, but then that gives you multiple options to answer it on the next turn, both with the second Azure Drake and Wrath, with your Hero Power and your 1/1. A lot of different plays that can be done here. We'll go for the Master of Disguise, and this is going to be the turn for Phone Tap where we kind of get a glimpse of where he's thinking about the game. Sylvanas here, kind of just acting like a 5/5 taunt. Swipe, pretty decent value here, but he's going to be yielding board initiative back over to Flo at that point. And so how Phone Tap decides this hand has to go, I think is going to be a glimpse into the way that he's been approached the game lately.
Yeah, it matters how much you value Swipe here, right? Because if you Sylvanas, he's going to trade his 2 minions into it. It's the same as playing Swipe, but then you get to keep the Swipe in your hand later, or you get to keep the Sylvanas. So it matters, if he had something to use along with this Innervate, I think you'd be seeing that more likely. But yeah, he's going to go ahead and draw a card here. That was actually a pretty big pickup here. He can use this plus a Hero Power to take down this this Master's guys, or he could even cycle a Wrath here. Very good top deck for Phone Tap here. Yeah,
I imagine with that Azure Drake being added to board and seeing what he just saw, he's probably pretty comfortable hanging on to that Wrath and getting some decent value out of it. It was, like I said, a really nice pickup from the Azure Drake. Did have the option to just Innervate and Wrath anyway. And so this is kind of like the first point in the game where you see like a real break, where Flo just doesn't really have too many options here. I mean, foregoing the Azure Drake, I could see it at this point because the Nourish is drawing 3 fresh cards if you choose to go for that. So the likelihood to pick up a Wrath, I think, is pretty high, but instead just going to be board tension. And do not blame him for this whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, if you play Nourish there, it's with the intent to find Wrath. I mean, if you don't find Wrath, then like your turn is, kind of slow. You just paid 5 mana to draw 3 cards, and then you're left with possibly Hero Power left over because there's not a lot of 2-drops or 1-drops left in your deck. At this point, you might find Raven Idol like he did, or a Living Roots, but we've already been through some of those. So, yeah, I definitely like this. Just get something on the board, create board tension, and just get some more spells played for this Yogg-Saron later in the game that feels like it's going to come down to.
Yeah, I mean, the Raven Idol providing effectively 2 spells if you have time to cast them both. Not really presented with good options, though. We'll elect for Savage Roar, which is having pretty close to no impact this game. And I think this is where you're going to see Phone Tap really turn up the heat. Nourish gets drawn, and so the question is development and trade-off, or Nourish and get value out of that Azure Drake coupled with that Wrath, and it looks like he's going for that Wrath.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw kind of an awkward turn from Yoet's Flow, and I think just drawing 3 fresh cards, getting to attack with this Azure Drake and pick his off with Wrath is really good because, I mean, not only, confirmation bias, his hand was amazing that the 3 cards that he drew, but you're going into your 8 and 9 mana turns, and your plays are kind of suspect. Just having Sylvanas and Swipe might not be enough to keep up with what Yoet's Flow might be doing. And, he just draws perfectly here, picks up Ragnaros for turn 8, and he picks up Ragnaros for turn 8 and Onyxia for turn 9. I mean, you couldn't really ask for better.
Yeah, Flo not really drawing what he needs. I mean, a 3/2 doesn't look too bad here. Does he feel like he needs to couple that with Fandral, though? I mean, you're looking at next turn. If he hangs on this Power of the Wild, he's got Fandral, Nourish into Power of the Wild. And is going to elect to not make the 3/2. So 3/2 sort of like an investment in the board here, but I think it's way better held.
I agree with you. By the way, have you ever Fandrilled into a Nourish, Nathan? It's a really good feeling. That's one of the best ones to do.
That's definitely one of my favorites. I was always looking for spots to just play Fandral and be like, well, maybe he just doesn't have any way to kill it in his hand.
Yeah, if you ever get to keep a Fandral around for more than one turn, like if you play one and it lives through your opponent's turn, the amount of value that you get off of it for the rest of the game is pretty insurmountable for most decks to keep up with.
Yeah. So there's the first 8 damage from that Ragnaros for Phone Tap, and wow. I mean, what he's got to play afterwards is just looking so good for him.
I love this play from Phone Tap more than just the fact that, it's 8 mana, it's got turn 8, you have Ragnaros, the fact that it's against a Druid deck here, and it's Flo's deck here, and most of these Druid decks may have one actual solid answer to a Ragnaros in play. We saw one earlier out of Phone Tap's deck, but usually Mulch is the only thing you have that can like 1-for-1 a Ragnaros, and they still get a card off of it.
Yeah. I'm liking the Fandral Nourish here still. I mean, Ancient of War definitely provides some beef on board, but I'm pretty surprised by this. I'm curious if he's going to add the 3-2 alongside of this one. Or if he's still going to hero power.
Yeah, I almost feel like you're sort of priced into making the 3-2 here, but he might continue to be greedy because it gives him another card to use a Fandral. But yeah, I like making a 3-2 here a lot. I mean, you need to be getting in a little more damage here. You have Savage Roar to try to finish the game off, and then you have the Yogg-Saron as a backup if the game goes incredibly wrong.
Yeah, I imagine to phone tap, this is going to look like a big opening for him, but he really needs to keep in mind that Flo's had a card in his hand for most of the game so far. He's going into 10 mana. He very aggressively ramped. This could potentially be a Yogg turn, and so how does that influence the way that this game pans out?
You make the board as good as possible for you and pray. That's you pray to Yogg. That's what you do.
Well, Sylvanas is there, so if Sylvanas steals Yogg-Saron, phone tap gets the spells afterwards. We'll just go with Onyxia. I think it's the strongest on board play for sure. And
wait, is that actually it works? If you steal a Yogg-Saron mid resolution of its spells, you get the spells? Wow, I've never actually seen that happen. I can't wait to see that happen.
It is crazy. It won't probably happen this game. I can't imagine Flo really going for anything here than the Yogg-Saron. I mean, just look at the board pressure he's facing down. On what planet does a Raven Idol spell or a Nourish 3-draw get you out of this?
Raven Idol into Starfall with Fendril.
Does that even get you out of it?
Well, you can trade into the Ragnaros, kill the Ragnaros and all the 2/2s, and you're facing down a 9/9 with some damage on it, and hopefully Yogg-Saron can maybe get you out of it. You maybe just Yogg, but it does, cast more spells for your Yogg next turn. I'm trying to think of a way out of this. I love the way that Phone Tap played this game. He knew that he was going to Onyxia at some point in time, but he waited till he could Onyxia and make all of his tokens 2/2s to kind of play around swipe as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Ragnaros is just... I mean, sorry, the Yogg-Saron is just the play here, period. There's just no way to get around this. And so, like you said, just kind of play it and pray. Now, the thing about it is he did wait a long time to do this, so the animation on this might not even finish before he has an option to do it. The button is green, though, so there's no attacks available.
And this looks like a pretty bad Yogg so far. Well, let's see where this is going. It does actually get the Onyxia. That's actually a pretty big play there. So Phone Tap actually gets, 9, 10, 11, 15 damage taken away by that Cone of Cold that turn. Are there any cards that kill him here off Raven Idol? Like Savage Roar doesn't get it done, does it? Ooh, these are some winners.
Yeah, not really the greatest here. The Raven Idols certainly have not produced so far. I mean, I don't even know which one of these options is really better. I mean, I guess the Healing Touch. The Force Nature. Do you really need the Force Nature this game? Flo's really digging deep on this Discover right now. Yeah, there's a swipe. Trade in. Pretty darn easy on that one. Yeah, I like the heal as well. I mean, this is sort of the reason why I felt like the heal was really important, is you're leaving this Yogg-Saron around, and a 10-4 is nothing to scoff at. You have to... The 10-4, either needs to be dealt with, or you need to be out of range of, 1 or 2 burn spells.
Oh, the Ragnaros goes face here. Yogg-Saron does survive this turn. Is there any way for him to deal 25 damage this turn?
Well, he's got 15 with Savage Roar and Hero Power. So he'd need an extra 10 points of damage. I mean, 10 points is pretty hard to produce with Druid right now.
Yeah, I mean, this Raven Idol could find another Savage Roar, but he doesn't have anything to couple with that. All right, so is there a way he doesn't die this turn? I guess you just have to draw cards off Nourish here, right?
Yeah. Well, no, the Raven Idol.
You can start with Raven Idol. Yeah.
Is going to go with Nourish first, though. The Nourish is only 3 mana at this point, though. Effectively, it does give you back 2 extra mana crystals.
You do have an Innervate as well, so you can still play Druid of the Claw if you pick it up here. Wrath is picked up.
Yeah. At this point, I'd imagine that Yogg-Saron is looking at trading.
Yeah, trade into Onyxia here. He needs to hurry this up, though. These animations take a while. Yeah, but you're going to see him pick very quickly here.
Man, I didn't think the both looked that bad, honestly. Naturalize.
Picks up Naturalize. Wow.
So it's got to give here. Obviously, take out the 4-1 instead of smaller one. So just kind of hoping the damage isn't there at the end of the day. So doesn't get to operate with the draw, it looks like.
Ooh, and he picked up a card he could have played too. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's you got to get going on those turns a little bit earlier. Oh, Yogg gets picked up.
Yeah, he has lethal
cast right now though. Oh, it's just lethal 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, hero power. I wasn't counting the hero power for some reason. There we go. Game number 1 gonna come to an end. Yogg-Saron not quite getting the job done. When your opponent has that wide of a board and Yogg fails to cast an AoE spell, that's got to feel pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone did the math on it. It's like you're 40% to clear at least one side of the board when you have a Yogg-Saron get played. And that feels like one of those numbers that's just made up to me. I don't know where you actually get these stats from, but usually when someone plays a Yogg-Saron, somebody's very unhappy. And yeah, usually one of the board states, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I played a Yogg-Saron and like half the creatures survived a Yogg. But it was only for what, like 6 spells, I think at that point, like 5 or 6 instead of you see them for like 9 or 10 a lot of times.
Yeah, it was a few less spells, but either way, Flo ends up taking game number 1 here in pretty convincing fashion. Pretty much control, I would say, the entire time. I mean, having the curve the way it was just was so good. It was just, I mean, that's one of those Druid hands where even despite the ramp, it kind of shows you where the direction of the deck is headed. And with the mirror match, the ramp is really important, but it's more important to kind of have the high value endgame cards. You kind of want to stay parity with your opponent and then just outvalue them at the end of the game. That's kind of the reason they're all in there. And then the Yogg-Saron, again, that's just always kind of the potential there. Is like it can turn games around, but when it fails to do so, you end up looking like TJ Asimo, QT Sanders, where every single one of your Yoggs fail in a feature tournament, and you wonder what went wrong.
Yeah, I watched some of that. That was hard to watch. I was rooting pretty hard for him. But yeah, I mean, it feels weird, you know, because like the Druid deck, it's just like you said, but it has these like high profile minions that it plays early in the game. You know, it could play a Fendril out, it could play a Violet Teacher, it could play an Azure Drake, it could play an Emperor Thaurissan in. If you leave those minions sitting around for a turn, like if you ignore them and just push face damage, you can get severely punished for leaving those minions. So it's like they get to play these really good minions at lower mana cost that have like pseudo taunt. You know, like you have to remove these guys, and then you're just giving them time to find enough spells and enough ramp to get to Yogg-Saron, or these big plays like Omnixia, they have like Savage Roar. You know, it feels like combo almost from a few months ago.
Yeah, I really like the term pseudo taunt, by the way, where like a minion is so important that your opponent just almost always has to kill it. Every time I like pseudo taunt more than I like priority kill. Like,
yeah. See, I've never used priority kill. I've only used pseudo taunt, so obviously I enjoy that one more. But it just every time I hear that phrase, I just think of Emperor Thaurissan. It's like I can't tell you the last time I just let that guy live ever. I mean, they have to have like no cards in their hand for me to let that guy live.
Yeah. Or you just have to have no chance to win both those.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Sometimes I have to let him live. It's a situation I don't want to be in. Flo's going to be on Warrior this game. Is a Battle Rage, Bloodhoof Brave in his hand with 2 copies of Execute. So looking like a Tempo Warrior build. Phone tap, once again, going with Druid here. Is going to start off with Living Roots for a couple of 1/1s here and shy on action for the next couple turns. Oh, well, you know.
Well,
sometimes.
Good Druid player confirmed. And this is a play, Nathan. I think you and I actually talked about this. I'm actually not a huge fan of Living Roots against the Warrior decks, especially having to play it on turn 1, but you do what you got to do. I mean, there's so many times that they can actually just get value off of you playing Living Roots at the beginning of the game, but it's starting to maybe get away from that a little bit more. But, you know, you think of cards like Ravaging Ghoul, you think of cards like Acolyte of Pain, and they really punish you for playing that card early in the game.
Yeah, some of this could come down to the fact that Phone Tap, you know, the decision to use Living Roots on turn 1 could be influenced by knowledge. Like maybe these players have a history together. Phone Tap just knows that he's going to be playing like maybe tempo more than he's playing control, things like that.
No, absolutely. And what a time to be alive with Warrior right now, by the way, Nathan. There's about 5 different Warrior decks going around that are all, you know, viable and could be playing. So it's no longer you just know what your opponent's playing when they're playing Warrior. I mean, you saw all the forms of Dragon Warrior get really popular here over the last few weeks. And then in the last about 2 weeks, OTK Warrior is just everywhere. Like everybody's playing that. I know you're streaming it a ton and playing it, but we're seeing kind of a throwback to what was like the first new Warrior deck in Standard. That's like the Tempo Warrior deck. I used to just call this Warrior Good Stuff because there's just all the best cards at their mana cost.
It's kind of exactly what it is. Let's Flow goes with the Fiery War Axe attack on one of these saplings here, and that makes a really awkward turn for Phone Tap. I mean, this is either hero power, take out this 2/2, do nothing, or send a Violet Teacher out to die to the Ooze and the Fiery War Axe, or play nothing and draw cards. And this is kind of like the situation where it can get really scary versus Warrior, where if you choose to go with card draw and they have strong development, you can find yourself falling behind for almost the rest of the game.
Yeah, this is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. But oh yeah, I was about to say he could ramp here and use his hero power and be able to play, Violet Teacher plus next turn possibly. Depending on what he draws, or just play Agent of Lore. I don't mind seeing card draw there because I think there's, some small chances they don't super punish you with development on 4 mana. Like if he doesn't have something like Bloodhoof Brave, there's not a lot of minions that super punish you from that spot.
This makes a lot of sense when you kind of look at it. So Phone Tap had seen an execute, and it's very early on, so the likelihood your opponent has a second execute is pretty darn low here, especially considering they had Fiery War Axe, they had Blood to Ichor, they had execute, and now they have Bloodhoof Brave. So the idea that a second execute is present, it's a little bit tough. Not only that, but the activator on it as well. It's either attack with Fiery War Axe and take 5 damage, or it's use a large portion of the Bloodhoof Brave, which that's certainly the play that Flo is not looking at right now, is using the Bloodhoof Brave. Maybe if he wants to Battle Rage, which actually looks like he wants to Battle Rage, so I take it back.
Yeah, I kind of like Battle Rage here this turn. I don't know if you're going to get a better one later in the game. I'm not sure. I mean, you don't have a Whirlwind effect just yet. And, it does this kind of puts you in a situation where Swipe just straight up bodies you, though. So I'm not a big fan of putting very good swipeable boards into play against Druid, but he's not going to get punished for it here.
Yeah, but I feel like the Sylvanas was an excellent play here. I mean, your opponent is a 5/10. You have a 2/6 taunt. If you play Sylvanas, unless Phone Tap has a silence in his hand or some way to just go nuts on the board, that Sylvanas is creating a very awkward state for your opponent. They have to find a way to react to it. And so it's give something up is kind of the reaction to this. I'm surprised that Flo has chosen to not play Sylvanas there. I mean, one of the situations where it's best is when you're not under a ton of pressure and your opponent has a 5/10 in play.
No, that's actually a really good point. The more I think about it, the more I think that's just right. And I kind of like this here. Just go ahead and make a giant board and let's figure this out. It's not often that they have Brawl in this deck, and if they do, sometimes it's only one copy. And then your opponent, you're not feeling terrible if you get brawled on this board either. So
yeah, this
definitely
is
going wide here.
Definitely a little bit punishable by Flo, I think. Just a lot of very strong answers to this, and then again, the curve afterwards is just monstrous from this point. Phone Tap needs to pick up some form of card draw here to really get the ball rolling, because this is Kor'kron Elite's going to restrict it down to 1 2/2 minion left. Still got the Armor Smith on board, so not under really any pressure from this. And 3 of the best minions in his deck are in his hand and castable right now. And so Phone Tap does pick up a Living Roots, which is kind of like card draw, I think, at this spot. The fact that you just get the extra 1/1s. But the concern certainly has to be Ravaging Ghoul. But at this stage of the game, I'm not sure Phone Tap can ever even consider playing around that because his resources are so low. So you're probably just going to end up seeing the Living Roots here in some form. It actually won't go with the Living Roots. Really interesting.
Yeah, and I really like the way you put that because his resources are so low. This is very much into what It's Flow is trying to do in this game in the way that he played his turns. He's just constricting all of the resources that Phone Tap had, and he's done a very good job of it.
Yeah, there's the Fire Lord himself eyeing one of these Violet Teachers.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 of these targets are very good.
Really, really wants to hit a Violet Teacher here.
The old 66.6 repeating, of course, chance.
I'll Leroy reference anytime I can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't heard you mention the Fire Lord as El Señor del Fuego in quite a while.
It's not like an impending doom here. Here's just a good play.
Yeah.
Like when it's the 50-50, that's when we break out the poncho and the sombrero and celebrate. All Cinco de Mayo, he's El Señor del Fuego for sure.
Okay, I'll keep that one in mind. But yeah, I mean, so what do you do this turn of your Phone Tap? I mean, you don't have a lot of options for one. Let's be real. I mean, you're going to play both your cards in some way, shape, or form in hero power. Like, that's going to happen.
Let's get the first thing straight. We're isolating the Ragnaros.
Yeah, of course.
That's the first step here. Sylvanas has got to come down. It's obviously it's your most powerful card, and you only have 2 of them. And honestly, I'm probably even firing up the Living Roots here. I just want extra stuff on board so that Ragnaros doesn't hit the Violet Teacher.
You have to make 3 1/1s here. You haven't seen any of the Whirlwindish effects out of the deck yet, but Doesn't look like Yoet's Flow has one just yet. As I say that, I bet he's going to draw one. Yep, they always draw one every time. They always draw it every time you say it.
Well, it's pretty good, but still a little bit to fight through here. So, Ravaging Ghoul, Fireworks. Yeah, this Ragnaros, things can still go awry here. I mean, if this Ragnaros hits the Sylvanas, we're looking at 33% chance for something really bad to happen.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 into a 2 out of 3. Here we go.
And the monkey.
Okay. All right, well, there's some redraws here. Yeah, there's some redraws here. Onyxia's a good one.
Gotta draw a card. Well, Onyxia's a bad one right now, because we have an 8 mana.
I thought it was 8 for some reason. Then, we could live into Yogg-Saron. I think that's the plan right now, right? Is try to live into Yogg-Saron.
Oh, yeah. I mean, clearly the Wrath is drawing a card here. I don't really see a situation. And, I guess I say that. There's a potential he could just tank the Ragnaros. Mm-hmm. Like, tank 8 more damage, clear it off with the Fierce Monkey and the Wrath. Hope that that's enough. But you're going to be left at 17 afterwards, staring down 2 cards, and your opponent's 3/3.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping that Yoet's Flow's hand is all removal at that point, and that he just has nothing left.
This is much better. It's much better to draw, I think.
Yeah. The swipe doesn't really do much, though, right?
I'm looking at trading in the Fierce Monkey here, I think.
Yeah, I like trade hero power base. I mean, if your monkey survives, you could trade it into Ragnaros next turn, possibly.
Got to make a decision, so we'll go for slightly more greedy play. But the Fierce Monkey could buy you 8 extra health here too. I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Well, that's
a lot of damage.
Yeah. Back-to-back Whirlwind draws when you have a lot of 1 health stuff on board, or rather, very important 1 health stuff.
So
it's pretty much Ragnaros. It's Yogg-Saron or bust at this point.
Yeah. There was a play last turn where PhoneTap could have either used Swipe to buy himself some more turns, or just swiped Yoet's Flow's face in hope that he drew Yogg-Saron. I have found myself in games like this where you're super far behind and you're playing to draw into Yogg-Saron to survive, where, yeah, it's correct most of the time to hold on to your spell here because there's no good place to play the spell, but then if you draw Yogg-Saron, you're like, well, I wish I had played this spell the turn before.
Yeah, I want to talk about not trading the Fierce Monkey and the Ragnaros and swiping. If he doesn't kill off the Ragnaros, it represents a potential 8 damage next turn, where the Ravaging Ghoul is going to take 3 turns to deal you 9 points of damage. If he goes for the swipe here, he runs into the Grom anyway, but in this position, he'd be at 10 potentially. So this Raven Idol, say it picks up something huge here, maybe he buys himself even more time. This play kind of, if your opponent had anything to reinforce the board, put you in a really bad spot. Goes for minion here. I'm almost certain searching for Big Game Hunter, I'd say.
Yeah.
Or just something insane. I don't really know what could be got at that point. But I think PhoneTap kind of relegated himself to less turns here when he chose to go with the Fierce Monkey value trade instead of going just for the high priority minion here.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I like that play because not only does it give you more turns, it just plays the swipe. Because, we're in Yogg-Saron or bust mode here, and I just like playing the spells. Like, I've seen situations where rogue players don't backstab their own minion before they play their Yogg-Saron. Yeah, I'm talking about Yogg-Saron and rogue. I got to cover that one for a while as well and stuff. And I just see these situations where players are going to put themselves into a spot
on the OBS end. Wise man once told me, Tannen, that technology was the vehicle of esports, and that sometimes that vehicle stalls.
Yeah, sometimes you haven't changed the oil long enough, or your brake pads aren't working out. Some other car reference. I'm not a car guy. I'm not a car guy. I tried. I gave it a good effort. We failed miserably.
Yeah, we should have really kept it up to date here with our OBS, and we hit the brakes, and I guess someone cut the wire or something straight into the pole. Yep, looks like it's Shaman for Flow in game number 3 here. PhoneTap still going with Druid, is down 2 games at this point, so we'll need 3 straight if he's going to rattle off this victory. And once again, going to go with Ancient of War here. I think it's a pretty high success rate here with this Ancient of War, but he's going to run into the Hex again. And so seems to be the story of this particular match is Yoet's Flow having the answers to the risks that PhoneTap is taking turn after turn.
Yeah, and this is a way more mid-range version of Shaman. Like when I see Shaman, I just always assume it's aggro until someone proves me wrong. But you see Fire Elemental in his hand here, and That could be the top of his curve. It could be like pretty aggressive as before that. But seeing this Azure Drake, I got to believe he's looking for a longer game. There could be something like Alakir in here. This has probably got Storm in it, Lightning Storm, which is pretty good in the metagame right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lightning Storm's in a reasonable position right now. Metagame's adapting a lot in the last few weeks, though. Like a lot of changes going in place. And then we just got the announcement of Karazhan coming up in a couple weeks here, which I'm really excited about, of course. Same. If you guys haven't checked it out, I won't give you any spoilers yet. My limit on spoilers is minimum 2 weeks. But I really encourage you to go check it out on Reddit. I'm certain there's something over there. A few cards have been spoiled so far, not everything.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 things up on the site.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out. Have you watched any of that?
The video with... I'm sorry?
With Dr. Steve Brule.
No, I haven't. I don't understand the reference, and I feel bad for you now.
So no, it's great. So this Comedy Central series, I believe maybe it's Adult Swim. I don't remember. It's called Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, and what it is it's filmed like a public access television thing, where the guy just has no idea what's going on. He's just completely dumb. And everything he does is just terribly produced, and it is hilarious. I mean, it's like 15-minute episodes. Put that on your to-do list.
All right, it's up there with Stranger Things right now.
Another very good one. Second Ancient War here for Phone Tap, and this one, there's ways to chew through it here for Flo, but not quite those extremely valuable answers like he had last time. Last time we saw it was just Hex. Now he actually has to invest some real resources into this. And this is sort of like a desperation point for Phone Tap, I think, where he's just gotten the situation because of that Hex, where the rest of the game feels like it could just go downhill. I mean, Flo's got card advantage, he's got board advantage. Everything's going his way. So this, once again, probably going to come down to whether or not Phone Tap manages to pick up a Yogg draw.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we're in that situation. It's going to be Yogg or bust at some point in time in this game. And what's the most efficient way to get through here? I mean, I was going to say it has to involve Fire Elemental, right? And then I got to believe it's going to be Coin. Yeah, it looks like he's going to do this. Coin into Rock Biter. And just get a little bit of overkill here, but it's not really that big of a matter. You're going to get a 6/5 into play here, and Phone Tap's back into the situation that he was in last turn, so he doesn't have an Ancient of War in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, this did require 2 cards, so just really trying to close the gap here for Phone Tap. He's not really under a ton of pressure. Obviously, the 6/5 is starting to mount that, but still options for him. And that's really the most important part, is that he's not in a super desperate situation right now. It's at this point, it's kind of like some reasonable ways to live long enough. Hopefully pick up a Nourish, maybe pick up some more stuff afterwards, and go for it from there. He's eyeing that Mulch, which in mid-range Shaman, there's not like a ton of really good Mulch targets. They kind of top out at like this 5 and 6 cost stuff.
It's just a bunch of 5/5 and 6/5 idiots.
Yeah, exactly. That's really the bad side of it, is that there's not really a good Mulch target. There's not really a bad one, but there's not really a good one, and that's the only way I can think to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, like, every now and then someone runs like an Alakir, maybe, but, there's no just big, huge top-end like Ragnaros that you need to mulch, usually. It's an Alkanite Soul Priest. There's no way Healing Totem with Alkanite Soul Priest could be a really interesting situation that could come up in this game.
It's a great combo.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of dealing 1 damage to all my minions in non-warrior decks.
Yeah. All I have to do is pick up a Grim Patron from his second mulch.
Oh, that's something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Corner cased Hearthstone TV. Love it.
Feral Spirits, I mean, looking like it is going to be Flame Tongue. That way we can get that extra thing from below on the line. So once again, pretty good board position here for Flo, but Phone Tap not quite out of answers just yet.
Yeah. This Raven Idol could come up huge this game. What are you looking for here? Like, Swipe doesn't seem amazing on this board. Starfall doesn't seem amazing as well. I'm trying to think of like some of the corner case cards for Druid that you could get that could be amazing here. I mean,
Starfire might be all right.
Yeah.
Starfire actually looks pretty good here.
Looks like you went for... Did you go for... I was going to say, it looked like you chose Minion, but...
Well, this might be Raven Idol number 2. For
Raven Idol to Raven Idol. Let's do it.
Only had a Violet Teacher.
Yeah, get the reroll. I love it. Hey, man, this is more Yogg fodder. It's more food for Yogg. He's hungry.
What if he discovers a minion this time?
He's like, didn't work. It's not gonna work. We're going for a minion, boys.
Starfire looking pretty good here. It's really important to isolate up from the right side as well. This way he gets to cut into the damage that's presented on board. Wow, I'm curious if this is 1-1 or if this is damage.
I think he's just going to clear possible here. And this way he gets to keep around. Actually, he gets to keep around his 3-3 here as a 3-1.
No.
Oh, no, no. I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought he was going to kill the Flame. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Flo, I mean, sort of the onus is on him to keep developing. He has Azure Drake to pick up another card. And this is where I imagine Sylvanas is pretty darn good from Phone Tap's perspective anyway. Flo has managed to draw himself another Hex. So, wow, that lady is a bit late right now. Onyxia would have been a great draw on this turn 10. Of course, it would run right into Lightning Storm. It feels like Flo just has an answer for everything that Phone Tap has done.
Yeah, every time I'm watching it from Phone Tap's side of the board, I'm like, oh, yes, we got another good draw for him here. And then I just look up at Yo, it's Flo's hand. I'm like, he has like 3 answers to it every time. He has all the hexes, all the lightning storms, which lightning storm generally not amazing against Druid, but it's pretty good when they're going wide all these turns, especially when they just Onyxia you. So yeah, I mean, it feels like this is Yo, it's Flo's game to lose here. He does a Thunderbluff Valiant here too. Wow, picks up another good mid-range card.
Hex obviously is coming out of this turn. There's really no question about that. Hey, there's that healing totem.
Don't play the Soul Priest.
No, play the Soul Priest.
Just says BM. Just let him know you have this thing. He played with it a little bit in his hand. You see that? He's like, don't play this one.
Well, Onyxia might stick here.
Well, I mean, you get the spell power.
It's just like 0% chance that this lives reasonably. And now a Flame Wreath face. Flo just has everything. Like Phone Tap has to pick up Yogg soon because he's not going to stick anything to the board. It's just this is going to snowball turn after turn.
He might even be able to pick this off. Yeah, I was going to say he's going to be able to pick this off with a hero power here and then trade in a totem. This is nightmare scenario, and I think we're at the Yogg and bust point here.
Yeah, it's looking like it. Here we go. Phone Tap down to what looks like his last draw. And
I was hoping for Yogg.
Just as good.
Yeah, I want to watch the world burn, Nathan. I want to see Yogg and just craziness.
I know you do.
You know I'm a fan of Yogg.
I'm a big fan of Yogg too.
Mm-hmm. I
personally welcome my Yogg Serrano overlords.
I'm a big fan of it when I'm casting and it's not actually getting played against me. I'm an even bigger fan when I don't have to deal with the outcome of that card.
Phone Tap going to scoop it up here. No answers. Flo, very decisive 3-0 from him in this game. Once again, just all the answers. There's really not much more to tell about this one. Flo's just kind of has his mid-range decks and out mid-ranged Phone Tap in this one. Just Druid really fell apart here for Phone Tap.
Yeah, it felt like Yo, it's Flo did Druid things in every game with every deck. Like you said, Phone Tap's draws weren't that bad. They're actually pretty good in some of the games, and it just felt like he got outclassed on every single turn. You got to feel for a guy. I know I feel really bad after getting swept in a match, and then I think about it for a minute. I'm like, I don't think there was anything I could do. My opponent's draws were just really good, and he played well.
That's Hearthstone. All right, so before we come into our next match, do you want to take some time to remind you guys to sign up for Open number 10. That will be taking place on August 2nd. It is the last Open, and therefore your last chance to get into the last feature event that will be taking place on August 4th, 5th, and 6th. So go to the website, geico.onog.gg, and make sure you sign up there. You do need to be a U.S. resident and 18 years or older in order to sign up, but it's a $1,000 prize pool. It's pretty much the best series of Opens that's going on out there. If you manage to win one, find yourself in that feature. Suddenly you're playing for $6,000 there. Also, before we go, we want to take this time to thank the sponsors who make this circuit possible. GEICO for being the title sponsor for this event. If you insure anything, and I mean anything at all, GEICO can save you some money on that. For instance, I insure my beard. I'm sure Tannen insures his jawline. It's just the way it's got to be done. While you're there, you can register for the tournament on that site as well. You can also register to win a Cyber Power PC Gamer Extreme 1000 on the website that's there as well. Get a quote, sign up for that. You can just win it. It's just free. They're just giving it to you. They just want to give it away. Also want to thank the Video Game Voters Network for this, a grassroots network of gamers who are encouraging the esports community to get out there and vote in the 2016 election. They also host a lot of contests and giveaways. They give away passes to E3 and video games, stuff like that. So make sure you check that out. So we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to have our second match of the day between Fatalocity and Nicolina. Don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the One Nation of Gamers Circuit Open number 9. I am Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by the Tannen Grace. We just saw Yoet's Flow take a 3-0 over Phone Tap and his Druid. That Druid fell apart in that series. What went wrong for Phone Tap there? Was it quite literally just being forced into risks and Flow having answer? Like, is there a different situation there that I'm missing, perhaps?
I think there was like a few turns at maybe a slightly different line, like, the swipe on the Ragnaros and, not taking the value trade. The turn, it's so hard not to take a value trade. We're just geared to do that in Hearthstone. But I think if, he buys himself another turn or two that game, there's a chance he draws Yogg and literally anything can happen at that point. But I feel like he was kind of outclassed by the draws that he was up against. His draw did not match up well against the other draw. There was always the Hex when it was needed. There's always a Lightning Storm when it was needed. And, it's the way the game goes sometimes.
Yeah. So second match is going to be coming up soon here. It's going to be Fatalocity versus Nicolina. And do see a mage in this build on Fatalocity side. Druid, Mage, Shaman for Fatalocity. And Nicolina, she's got Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. Never a surprise to see these three classes. They have been so dominant. And as we've been talking about a little bit here too, just the total dominance of Warrior just over and over again. I mean, there's got to be like 6-7 different archetypes right now that are viable with this deck. And with the Raging Morgan build kind of emerging over the last couple of weeks, I mean, just another dynamic to be added into there. Where does this all start? I mean, is this just Fiery War Axe being that good?
The answer to that question is yes. I mean, I can't. I rage so hard when my opponent has Fiery War Axe in their opening hand. It's where I'm like, yeah, of course you have that card. I could just never beat it, like ever. But I mean, you're just seeing the classic cards that are involved in Warrior. The cards that have just been there from the start are just so good. Like Execute is just so efficient. Some of these decks don't even play Shield Slam anymore. Because they're just like filling out their curve of more dragons for their dragon deck. But you're just seeing the power of this deck. It has the best card draw and the best removal in the game. And you're just building all these decks around it that are insanely good. And then now you have like the OTK version being very popular. So if you don't understand which matchup you're in the first 4 turns right away, you can lose a game on the spot right there by not being in the appropriate spot in the matchup.
Yeah, definitely some real considerations here for Warrior and where you take that class. My gosh, it's good. A little bit of background on these two players. So Fatalocity actually started playing Magic at 9 years old, which is younger than I started. I mean, I started, I think, at like 10, 11.
I was 10, yeah.
Yeah.
I was 10 in 1995 when I started playing.
Gosh,
I'm old.
Yeah. But has recently also fallen prey to the Pokemon Go frenzy, which also... victim here as well.
Yeah.
But I've been dropping some weight. I'm down about 40 pounds now.
Yeah, impressive.
So definitely going from there. But so it looks like gaming is a really big part of Fatalocity and just their hobby life. On Nicolina's side though, did qualify for Worlds in Pokemon in the TCG. So that's a really big one that took place there. Has won 2 Tavern Hero tournaments to play in both prelims so far, and also streams twitch.tv/Nicolina. For Nicolina's stream there as well. So the player's getting set up right now. A little bit of backstory on these two. Not familiar with them really outside of the facts listed here, but really looking forward to see what's brought here. Top 4ing in Open, it's an accomplishment, even though it's not like this isn't a major tournament by any stretch of the means in terms of like have to be top 128 in any to qualify. Playing down the top 8 there, but top 8s add up, over and over and over again. Like Phone Tap, for instance, I consider Phone Tap one of the better players out there, and it's simply because of his consistency in these open events. Sure, he's playing a lot of them, but he's also top 4ing a lot of them, and that's really something to look out for. And so, as far as I'm aware, this is the first time that these players have top 4'd an ONOG event. So looking forward to see what they can bring here. Just one more left to go after this, and with this close, I mean, you're looking at the feature tournament here. These are potentially people who make it to that PAX Prime final at this point. You're like 2 matches away right now.
Yeah, you may only be playing for a few $100s here today. May only be playing in an open tournament with no buy-in. Like I just want to say for a second, ONOG is the best Open Series tournament out there right now. It's like not even close. But they're actually playing for a lot more than the few $100s and few points that are going on here today. I mean, they're playing for thousands of dollars because whoever wins, their next 2 matches gets to play in a feature and then possibly gets to go to PAX and play for, I think it's like $25,000 at PAX. I mean, that's a lot of real money, That's a good year's work for some people.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is the Open's feeding into a major, and so
Mhm.
you step by step, you start from the ground up. You know, a lot of people. I get asked so many times, how do I get into competitive Hearthstone?
Yeah.
The answer is open events. You start at open events. You find the ones that qualify for majors. You got to win those. You know, that's how I cut my teeth playing cards. I would drive across the state to play in local tournaments, and eventually you win one, and you go to a big pro tour. That was really the way to do it back then. And Hearthstone is honestly the only difference is that it's all online.
Yeah.
Finding the tournaments is easy, it's accessible, and like I said, Onog's the best one out there. Geico.onog.gg. Sign up for Open number 10, taking place on August 2nd.
I got a little bit of a grin there when you mentioned about driving over state lines to play in some events earlier, because I know I cut my teeth playing against you. You know, I grew up in Louisiana. You're from Texas. We'd play against each other a lot in Magic. And actually, one of my fondest memories is my first big tournament win ever in Magic. The one that qualified me for my first Pro Tour. I had to go through you. I don't know if you remember it, because at the time you were a little more established than I was.
Oh, yeah, I remember it. I remember it. Good old Lucky Tannen.
Yeah.
Always drawing perfectly. No, I remember the match. Tannen was always a very excellent player in the games then. You know, it's sort of a lot of these Open players, they run into each other over and over again. And just kind of give you an idea of that taking place. PhoneTap actually beat Nostum in this event, who got second place at American Spring Championship. Yoet's Flow took out Rosti and VLPS on the route here. Fatalocity beat Chalky in this event. Nicolina took on Lead Paint and Chess Dude in this event. I mean, there's a lot of familiar names that compete in these Opens, and if you know, it's not a surprise to see the same faces over and over again. These are the players who have that drive to compete, and they will go out of their way to make sure they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just playing for money and points for these majors. I mean, you're getting to cut your teeth against some of the best players out there. I mean, some of those players you mentioned, you know, like VLPS, Chalky, you know, some of these guys like PhoneTap you mentioned today. When I think of these guys, they're some of the best I know at just like being not just good at the game, but they're students of the game. They're always on top of their game. You know, they have the newest decks, the newest technology. You know, like when you play against them, they play some card and you're like, I haven't seen this card in forever, or I haven't seen that card in a while. And then they play it on you and you're like, oh my God, I messed up. Like, yeah. I should be playing this, you know, and they do something. And I mean, getting a win against these guys, you feel like you top 8 at the event just from getting a win from them, because like it's just such a big deal to beat a player of that caliber. Yeah,
they're tough opponents. It's really what it boils down to. I mean, they do have the latest technology. I know a couple of these people have iPhone 7s. They're not even out yet. I have mine on my reserve. They're already jamming the new Pokemon Go app on there.
Yeah, I've got a 5. Feels bad, man.
I have a 5 too, actually.
Yeah, I need to upgrade.
Yeah, I need to upgrade.
Yeah, I need to upgrade.
It is necessity for Tannen Grace. If he doesn't get a new iPhone soon, that's going to be it. He's going to be done. We won't see him. He's not going to see
me around. Yeah, you're going to be missing the jawline. Yeah, I mean, I won't be able to take the cute pictures of my new puppy that I've been posting like crazy lately. Sorry that I've been spamming it, guys. I'm a proud parent.
Thanks for that one, by the way. Love looking at Facebook to see pictures of everyone's kids and puppies that are on there. Players are almost ready to.
I have the cutest puppy in Hearthstone, Nathan. It's not my fault, all right. And yeah, I said the cutest puppy in Hearthstone. I see you over there, Shiro.
Yeah,
I'm firing shots.
Look out!
Firing shots,
bro. Yeah, players are almost ready to get into this one. As soon as players are ready, we'll jump into the game. But need just a few more moments to get set and everything get rolling here.
All right, so let's take some guesses. What mage deck do we have here? I'm saying the new tempo
Freeze.
mage.
No, Freeze.
Oh, you think Freeze?
Pure.
Okay.
Pure. Freeze, I think, is actually not that bad of a choice right now.
Yeah.
We've got
not going against the heavy warrior decks anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really one of the big points there is that when warrior was kind of good and it was pretty much only control decks, Freeze Mage really, really had a tough time because that was just a win you could not pick up. Not only that, but you're also looking at formats like Last Hero Standing instead of Conquest, where if the Freeze Mage loses to the warrior's still there. That's like still a problem. So if they end up getting in a certain situation, if your opponent has a warrior in their lineup, they can quite literally almost always put it to beat your Freeze Mage in Last Hero Standing. But in Conquest, a little bit different. Sometimes you can give up that win and still be in a favorable position. Now, the only thing that concerns me is kind of the fall off of Zoo that we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks. We've, fewer and fewer Warlock decks seem to be creeping up. I definitely would consider it one of the top 5 classes out there at the moment, and certainly still one of the better decks. But Warrior feels like it's occupying like 4 or 5 of the best decks right now almost. And kind of taking that into consideration, you only have one Warrior in the lineup. And so because of that, the Freeze Mage actually gets a little bit better because there's less and less control variants out there. They're more the aggressive styles like Dragon Warrior and Temple Warrior and stuff like that. So Freeze Mage I actually think can still perform out there. If you just run into the Warrior Warlock matchups a lot, you can pick up wins. Not that I still think the Freeze Mage is a good matchup versus Warrior, but it's way more winnable than it was, say, 6 months ago.
Yeah, it was probably the most lopsided matchup you could get in all of Hearthstone. I mean, it just felt I mean, I could you'd see. I mean, I probably called maybe 20 to 30 games of Freeze Mage against Control Warrior, and I think I've seen 2 wins from Freeze Mage, and one of them was from like Purple, who had like a crazy version of he had like counter spell in his deck and stuff, and like just got infinite value off some weird card. I don't remember what it was, and got a win there. But it's like you said, and if there's no Zoo, maybe you're like kind of losing some value there. Like, what if this is some version of Reno Lock? How does that match up against Freeze Mage? Because Zoo has been falling off the, like you said, falling out of popularity a little bit, and I'm starting to see Reno Lock a little bit more. I know I've been playing against it a little bit more.
Yeah, the Reno Lock build, I think, a lot of it's gonna depend on what version of Arena Lock it is. So if you're looking at like the burst combos from Reno, Ice Block can really put you in some awkward spots where you, instead of having big threat potential, you instead have one combo that's meant to burst your opponent out of the game. You run into an Ice Block, and then you didn't really have enough threats early on to put your opponent in awkward positions, so they just have a ton of burn left over. If you're kind of playing the versions that are more threat-centric and kind of based a little bit more on curving out, I think that's where Reno has a chance to fight that matchup, because I still think you're fighting a little bit from behind, just the idea that your opponent can deal you so much damage from hand in one turn. So like you're looking at 20 life not always being safe from the Reno's perspective, and the foundation of that deck is using life tap over and over again. And so when you're floating at 15 life, usually you're totally okay. So Freeze Mage, I still think does have a little bit of an edge there. To me, the loss of the Freeze Mage is just the fact that Warlock has not been as popular over the last couple of weeks as it was, again, like a month ago. Warlock was every single deck, or every single lineup had Warlock in it. That was just the way that it went. And suddenly we've now seen, I think, is this back-to-back, is this 3 lineups out of the top 4 that we've seen without Warlock in them?
Yeah, I think something like, no one had Warlock before this, so you're definitely right, yeah.
Don't have Warlock. So half the players here don't have Warlock, and that's way different than a month ago.
Yeah, we only got to see one deck out of Phone Tap. It went horribly awry for him there in the in that semifinal match. But we do get to see him again in the third place match, so maybe we'll get to see what he was playing there in the matchup for this one. And it's going to be interesting to see, like you said, like I find that I was on the Reno side of the matchup with Reno versus Freeze Mage, and I found that the card Reno itself is like knowing when to play it in the matchup is interesting, because I find that you either have to play it after they Alexstrasza you, if they're playing the version of Alex, or you actually have to be kind of careful with it. If you get down to like 16 or 18, like you were saying, you can't be greedy. You just have to, play Reno, gain your life back, because they can kill you from that life total with like 8 and 9 mana. And then not to mention, I mean, the guy is a 4/6. Like, it gets some damage going.
Yeah,
and play. He is hard.
It's not really vulnerable to Flame Strike.
I mean, it gets like Fireball, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really big point just for Reno as being like a threat. If you're down 10 points of life, I think you can play Reno and be kind of satisfied with it. And that's, to me, sort of the problem with the matchup, is that one of your big win conditions with Reno Jackson is no longer necessarily a big win condition.
Yeah.
And that's it's definitely something I'm concerned with a little bit. The other thing I think is interesting to talk about is with Druid, and the way that Druid has had like this major waves of kind of like people think it's the best deck and then people think it's not very good. And now it's kind of in this position where it's kind of creeping up and maybe putting up potential to be the best deck again. And it's almost quite literally from the power of Yogg-Saron in those builds. I mean, Druid it has good enough spells to couple with Violet Teacher, obviously Innervate being a big catalyst to that. But just the fact that Yogg-Saron is so ridiculously powerful keeps Druid in such a good spot, because there's really not too many other classes that can play Yogg-Saron and be happy with just drawing a bunch of cards and kind of isolating your opponent's board a little bit more. Mage, sort of, but Mage has a much tougher time, I think, of handling that mid-stage pressure than Druid does, where Druid, they do it via threats instead of doing it via removal spells.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of, the progression of Druid since Standard happened, it went from, Standard started and everybody's like, oh, thank God, Druid is dead. It was the king and now it's gone. And then you started to hear rumblings when I think DreamHack happened, that like, oh, people have this Druid deck, or people have these Druid decks that are really good. And then like you kind of saw some of them do well, but like, you didn't see it have like a breakout performance like you thought it was going to. It wasn't everywhere. It wasn't winning every game. And then it kind of, went off into the shadows a little bit again. And then people started playing Token Druid. And they started figuring out, oh, we can go wide with this deck. They started experimenting with cards that they weren't playing before. And they started doing a lot better with that. And then somebody put Yogg-Saron in the deck. You know, they did. I think it was originally just for the memes. You know, somebody was like, "Oh, let's just put Yogg in this deck and we'll have fun with it." And then they realized this card's actually good. This card is actually really, really powerful. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm winning games that I would never win. You know, I'm doing this insanely powerful thing. I run out of spells and resources, and I play this 10-drop and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden you're starting to see that. Who knew? Ramp with really good cards that are already good on their mana cost, and you're playing them a turn earlier or 2 turns earlier. It's just a good strategy in this game. Since the dawn of time. Yeah, who would have thought? Since the dawn of time with like strategic-based card games, if you can cheat the mana curve, that has always been one of the most broken things you can do in these games. I mean, I think of cards that have been like banned and changed in other games and in this game as well, and it's almost always because of their mana cost.
Yeah, I mean that's always a big thing too. Is like, what's the restriction on it? Well, Yogg-Saron's kind of got the biggest restriction you can place on it, 10 mana. But a couple weeks ago, I saw Sixo saying that he thought Yogg-Saron was just straight up overpowered, and frankly, I kind of agree with that. There's a lot of overpowered cards in the game. The question is, at what point do you change them? And the fact that Yogg-Saron's ability is just so devastating to the game, I feel like that's like the area where I look at it and go, does this need to change? Innervate. Again, cheating the mana curve is very powerful, but there's ways to punish innervate draws. If a warrior has an early execute with some decent curve back behind, they can punish early innervates. If a rogue draws preparations, it doesn't have the minion pressure to back up a preparation on like a sapper or an eviscerate, they can fall out of the game.
Yep.
These cards are very powerful, but they can get punished. Yogg-Saron only really punishes itself when it doesn't go right. And when a card just goes right more often than not, and it's pretty darn easy to access.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of times when you play a Yogg where you're like, worst case scenario, I die, and I was probably going to die anyway. And then, like, break even is I just cleared the board, and I may have my Yogg-Saron left over, I may not. You generate a lot of tokens with this guy, you generate a lot of minions with this guy. Sometimes you heal and draw extra cards, stuff like that. And then best case scenario, you're just going to insurmountably win the game from that spot. And when the ceiling is that high and the floor is barely there because you're like probably going to lose anyway, why wouldn't you play this card? I mean, that card just seems amazing. And we have Hearthstone, Nathan.
Yep, game number 1 getting underway right now. Fatalocity looking like they're on Shaman right now. Nicolina on Warlock, having a bit of issues with the webcam, so we'll try to get that sorted out as quickly as we can. But that's a Crazed Alchemist that's in that Warlock build, and that card is almost always a nod just to Doomsayer in general.
Yep. And we saw that get a little popular early in Standard, go away, and now it's coming back from a popularity standpoint, which is funny to me because there was this point, I think it was about like a month, maybe 2 months ago. I'm bad with dates. I've been moving all over the place, all over the country. Every day feels the same to me, but it felt like every deck had Doomsayer in it, right? It felt like Doomsayer was like the most played card and just the best card in Hearthstone. And then you saw Crazed Alchemist kind of start to like, weave its way back in here a little bit after it. So, it's definitely a nod to that. And that's an elemental destruction in the Shaman deck over here. This is an interesting tech card that's been going on. I like Lightning Storm a lot. Element Destruction just takes it to the next level.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting choice. I mean, we saw this really early on with a lot of the aggressive Shaman builds where they played one copy of Elemental Destruction to, if the board got unmanageable, you could Elemental Destruction. Sometimes it would buy you enough time to like find an extra burn spell to kill your opponent. And that kind of fell out of favor where people were just went, what if I just played stronger early game cards? Could that shore that up? Now that we've seen a lot of like Dragon Warrior popularity, a lot of stuff in that build has 4 health. Azure Drake, Blackwing Corruptor, Core Crown Elites at the 4/3 mark. A lot of stuff can really put some heat on you. And so Fatalocity choosing to go with Elemental Destruction kind of potentially to answer something like that. When I see the Argent Horse Rider and the Argent Squire, I don't really imagine this being like a late game centric build. Like I don't picture like Earth Elemental Ancestral Spirit really being a combo that's in Fatalocity's deck right now.
Yeah. I want to ask you about this turn here. Obviously he's going to make a totem. Do you like the Trump trade there? Just run your 1/1's Divine Field into this front half.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah, it's called the Trump trade. Whenever you make a trade like that, it's the Trump trade.
No, I think I like just pushing the face damage. I mean, Fatalocity is very easily the aggressor in this situation. And so finding ways to keep yourself from getting punished very early, I think is really one of the main keys there. And so that also entails being able to just push damage to the right situation. So preserving this Divine Shield here really makes a big difference simply because the taunt totem is rolled. So the totem that's rolled could have influenced it quite a bit. I would say probably not, but the whole point of the Argent Squire at some point is to get a significant trade. If you choose to use that on the front half, just nothing happens there.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. The healing totem would have been great here, but Wrath of Air totem is still one of the ones that it's scary as long as it's out there.
Yeah, not quite as scary for Zoo. A lot of just small stuff in general. And pretty easy turn here from Nicolina. Just take the good trades. And this is the kind of board position that Shaman often gets presented with in this matchup. I mean, Zoo, I would say, is a pretty poor matchup overall for Shaman.
Yeah, I was about to bring up the point.
It's like a game where Elemental Destruction could really be a big difference.
Yeah, I was about to bring up the point. This is why this Elemental Destruction is in here. This is one of the situations why you see people start to play Storm in their deck, Lightning Storm in these Shaman decks. And I don't think it costs you too much to play like one card in your deck like this. Because, even though we did talk about how Zoo is like a little less popular now, it's just so popular in the tournament formats. It just feels like if they're a Warlock deck, they're always Zoo, and that deck can just always 3-0 at some point in time. I mean, it's just so good. And if you're going to be playing this deck, you don't just want to run into it and lose every time because it's such a rough spot.
Yep. Talking about rough spots, Fatalocity feels like hurting right here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it does have the Elemental Destruction. The Overload for 5 on that. The problem with that card against Zoo is that it gives them a turn to just get their board development, which is just the post AoE. And then you're overloaded for 5, so they get a second turn to do it. That's really the big issue for me, is that there's really not too many ways to fight against that unless you quite literally can keep board presence around or your opponent just completely out of gas and doesn't draw very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he does actually pick off this totem, which is going to, be interesting because it would have put more damage on this Flamer Faithless this turn if he were to do something like Elemental Destruction. But it looks like what he's going to do here is he's going to play the Feral Spirit, just digging in deep here for this Elemental Destruction. You're going to get even more resources out of Nicolina's hand here before he decides to sweep up this board. And maybe even wait till they get a really good spot where he can Elemental Destruction plus something else in the same turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a big point. Like the Soulfire here as well, acknowledging that the hand is fairly weak at this point and can still get some pretty easy trades here. Does trade in the Divine Shield, which that is a little bit interesting to me, the use of the Divine Shield trade here, rather than preserving the Divine Shield trade and keeping the extra 1/1. I'm a little bit curious about that. But either way, I mean, look at the Elemental Destruction right here. This is Lightning Storm. I think there's some real recovery potential here for Fatalocity. The fact that it's Elemental Destruction instead of leaving behind so much overload just puts him in such an awkward spot.
Yeah. I mean, do you think he possibly has one of the Unlock His Mana Crystals cards in his deck? He could have like the minion, could have the spell. I mean, there's a couple of different ones, but I haven't seen those cards played in a long time. Besides, the combo versions.
Yeah, plus you got to draw that.
Yeah.
So I think Fatalocity is looking for a little bit more of an extension here, and then the ability to follow up. So casting Elemental Destruction on turn 7 will mean that on turn 8, we can also play Feral Spirits. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the target, I think, here with that card.
I mean, he can just cast Elemental Destruction and Feral Spirits next turn, and then actually have some mana going into turn 8.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, too. Just being able to couple it with something and try to get a little bit more value here, and instead just ends up falling into this spot. That's actually a really great pick. Curious about that one. I actually really like Elemental Destruction, Tunnel Trog, and Feral Spirit here.
Yeah, I like that as well. Maybe play his turn a little too fast here because I think that puts you in possibly the best situation to get multiple attacks out of your Tunnel Trog in this game and just get a ton of damage in.
Yeah, again, the longevity is not favoring Fatalocity here.
I mean, this gives him the biggest Tunnel Trog, but is that actually what you wanted to do that turn? I think you wanted to sweep this board and make sure your Tunnel Trog got to attack multiple times here.
Yeah. Instead, the Tunnel Trog can be swept out in this board position.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're always conscious of cards like Defender of Argus, Abusive Sergeant. Any of these cards let these small minions trade up, and then all of a sudden, Nicolina's got great trades here.
Yeah, order trade's not really mattering so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, the whole board's getting restricted at this point. Obviously, the Tunnel Trog's getting traded off here. It's just a fantastic spot for Nicolina. And honestly, I am a little bit curious about the about the no life tap here. I felt like life tap was also really strong in this spot. And Fatalocity suddenly in a position where, again, if he didn't want to cast Elemental Destruction last turn, why would he want to cast it this turn? This is about the same amount of damage he's facing down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're going to make a bunch of 1/1s here this turn, maybe you do just, forego life tap and make sure you make a couple extra ones. That's where she's thinking. So, like, maybe that's the, the play line she was going with. She wanted to make sure she got maximum value out of her card.
Well, second Forbidden Ritual gets picked up too. Fatalocity has an answer to this board position. Again, I think would have been much better on turn 7 to Elemental Destruction, Tunnel Trog, and then follow up Feral Spirit. Instead, the resource investment tried to get extra stuff out of Nicolita's side of the board.
Well, he actually achieved that earlier in the game. He had gotten enough stuff. He just didn't take the opportunity to present itself. How much damage did this Tunnel Trog have done so far? I mean, it would have gotten in for at least 6 to 9 damage already. And then you're actually cutting off outs from Nicolina. She can no longer live tap. She has to worry about stuff like that. And then I guess now you get to do this Elemental Destruction in a Totem Golem, but he's not even going to show that card.
That's actually that's really something to think about here. That brings a lot more clarity, I think, to that play line. Is I'm probably going to lose this game anyway. Don't show the Elemental Destruction, and let that be a factor in the next games. When I see it take place that way, I'm curious if that's the game plan that was in mind for Fatalocity. I faulted him saying that I didn't like the play line because this was weaker, but something to really consider is concealing that information. How important is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to conceal that information, and that matchup's so bad, maybe he's just willing to concede it and not give away that card. Just make sure that he gets enough value out of it in the next game, because, like, let's say he gets a little extra value from concealing that card in the next game that he plays with the Shaman deck, then it's back to even, right? He got a win that he might not have gotten anyway, and so it makes up for the game that he lost.
Yeah, game number 2 getting underway right now. Nicolina is playing Shaman, and Fatalocity's rolling with Mage. It is Tempo Mage. You were right, Tannen.
Yeah, you owe me a Coke.
Wrong.
Yep.
I'm always wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember many times of you actually being right.
Yeah, I never am. Don't worry.
I mean, you grew the beard. That's it. It all ended there.
No, the beard grew me. Okay.
Okay. The beard was before. Okay. The beard came first. All right.
The beard
first I was a beard.
1,000 years ago in fire.
Yeah. First I was a beard. Now I'm a man with a beard. I tried to grow a beard recently, and when I say that I tried to grow a beard, it was more I was really lazy for like 2 weeks and just didn't shave. And I would look at it in the mirror and I'm like, I would be embarrassed to show this to Nathan. I'd be embarrassed to have this beard on the same image as That's Admirable. And I was like, I got to do something about this. And so, we went to the local barber. We got cleaned up.
See, I've tried to do that before too. Have you seen that movie, The Santa Claus?
Which one is that one with Tim Burton?
With Tim Allen. Tim
Allen. Sorry, yeah. He did all those other Christmas movies. Yeah,
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Allen, the Tool Man. Yeah. That's what I meant.
How dark that movie would have been.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was already pretty dark. I mean, Santa Claus died on Tim Allen's roof. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And maybe Tim Burton did have a hand in it. Yeah, that's like me. If I shave, it just grows back instantly. There's nothing I can do about it.
Like you actually shaved yesterday.
This morning.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah. So interesting stuff here. You could actually start out with Mana Worm here, but you're going to be using the coin and the mirror image, and you could actually just start with mirror image here as well. This presents something that has to be attacked multiple times, but you're giving up a lot of value off of that card with Mana Worm and Flame Waker in your hand.
Well, the idea here obviously is to buy enough time to get a big Flame Waker turn. When Fatalocity chooses to forego the Mana Worm into coin and mirror image here. Now my question is that better than going for Mana Worm, coin, mirror image here? Because you can present a 2/3 on board. You have a hero power next turn, and that's going to challenge the Finley directly. The ping here is face for Nicolita, by the way. Probably absolutely the worst place for it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And now Fatalocity's in the spot where he's playing a 1/3. He's going to lose his mirror images. He lost the pressure with Mana Worm.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to preserve coin here for Flame Waker. And if you're going to do that, I think you're better off waiting for a turn where you can go like Flame Waker, coin, 2 spells against whatever board Nicolina has presented against you here. And that's probably going to be good enough to win the game at that point, barring the fact that hopefully you're not at like 10 already and just dead to a Doomhammer.
Yeah.
Plus, it preserves your mirror images a long time, which can actually buy you a ton of time against a lot of boards that Shaman can present.
Right. I mean, Mana Worm is not necessarily a win condition in this matchup so much as it is just such a powerful nuisance in the early game. Your opponent needs to answer it.
Yeah. It's a one drop that can trade a Totem Golem. There's not many of those in the game.
Yeah. Speaking of Totem Golem, I think that needs to come into play this turn. If you look at the way the hand's panning out, if Totem Golem is not played this turn, instead Doomhammer's not coming down on turn 5. So
yeah.
Totem Golem this turn, Argent Horse Rider next turn, Doomhammer on turn 5. This is the right sequence for Nicolina.
Yeah, I found myself doing a lot better with the Shaman decks once I started really paying attention to my turn after the next turn when it came to Overload.
So
right,
Flamewaker
looks, yeah.
Honestly, at this point, this may even feel like a little preemptive here. So play on this turn, one of the Juggles goes face, one hits the Finley. Is going to trade off the Finley, rip the second Arcane Missile. So Perfect could still clear the board here. Will not get that. And doesn't clear the 2-1 or the 3-2. That is brutal. Fatalocity, I mean, this is the risk that was curses.
I haven't seen that one yet.
This is sort of the risk that gets taken by going with this Flamewaker turn rather than the Mana Worm turn. I honestly think Fatalocity could have prevented this situation from happening.
I was about to say, I almost like the Totem here more than the Argent Horse Rider now. Get a really good trade here and take out the Flamemaker.
It's way better here now simply because of the way the Flame Juggler lived. I mean, I wouldn't expect the Flame Juggler to live that turn.
Yeah, I mean, Nicolina had some stuff go really well for her over the last turn with his RNG and these missiles. And, I mean, that's what happens in this game sometimes when you play these cards that do random things. Sometimes they do the most random thing that could hurt you.
Yeah. There are failure rates built into that. That's something to account for.
Now, Water Elemental is a card that's actually pretty good in this matchup if you can get it out. If you can get it out before a Doomhammer gets in play and starts to get value, and it's really hard to pass it up on this turn. I know that you can Forgotten Torch here remove 5 damage from the board, but I really like getting a Water Elemental into play.
Yeah, and the way that I look at this is this. Like, I think there's so many different ways that Nicolina can go about this that it's pretty insane to think about. Like, I don't think there's even a loss of merit for simply just going face. With everything, I don't think there's a loss of merit for trading and setting up the Tunnel Trunk Doomhammer next turn. What this is going to come down to is where Nicolina feels like she's at in this game. If the situation right now is I have enough, I can press for damage, and if that Water Elemental hits face instead of hitting the Totem Golem, and that lives, that's now 10 damage that card's produced. That could potentially be worth getting frozen because Fatalocity's not done attacking minions this game yet. And so this is a really interesting spot from the approach standpoint where we get some insight into how comfortable Nicolina feels with risks versus reward.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head there. And you saw her thumbing over all of her cards multiple times there. I love seeing the amount of time that she's taking here. And she goes to the line you're talking about. Let's get some damage in.
Yep.
Love the placement of the minions here as well.
Again, Fatalocity's not done attacking minions here. So this Water Elemental, now it's fully committed to attacking the minion. It's never attacking face in this spot. My only concern was, is it worth playing Doomhammer in that spot almost?
I think I like this line because, you know, as you said, the Water Elemental's so priced into attacking a minion, you're pretty confident that this Doomhammer is going to get to go off next turn. I mean, what's the worst case scenario here to kill all of your minions and that lets this Water Elemental actually attack your face? I mean, there pretty much isn't one. And so I love this line, Nicolina. It pushed the most damage possible. It takes the Water Elemental out of play pretty much, and you get to keep a lot of power in play. Plus, this Doomhammer is going to get a lot of extra damage in here now. Exactly.
Yeah. Plus the buff on the Tunnel Trunk. That's definitely important. And that Lava Burst pickup, I think that might have sealed this game.
Yep.
Down to 10, falling to 6.
So now he needs to kill
it's a
every minion.
Attack right now.
Yeah. The old, I got to kill everything, stop your weapon, and not die.
Yeah, well, it's possible this turn. So Nicolina will need an extra point of damage to end this game right now. But I can tell you what, when you have life tap and you got 19 life and you need 1 damage and you're playing Shaman, it's going to be there quite often. And right off the top is that Lightning Bolt. Fatalocity looking stressed, and this one down 2 games to 0 now in the exact same spot that Bone Tap was in, down 2 games.
Yeah, Nicolina, you know, fortunate to draw exactly that turn to finish it off, but I feel like she's a huge favorite from that point, along with Life Tap. You're going to be able to find 1 damage somewhere. But I got to say this. Boy, was I impressed with her play in that game. she played amazing in that game. Like, set her minions all in the right spot, took the right amount of time in the turns to make sure, what's the correct play here, because she took the most amount of time in the most important turn of the game. That turn was deciding the game there. Do I push for damage here? Do I trade for water elemental? Do I develop a doom hammer? And I think you spent 60 seconds going over the 4 different lines that you could have made that turn and the merits of all of them. And she did the exact same thing. She went through every single one of them and found the one that wins the most often. And I love seeing that from any player. I was super impressed.
Now, granted, at that position, a lot of those lines win very often.
Yes.
But like you said, it's the matter of finding the one that wins the most often.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the difference there. You can take 60% chance to win, or you can take a 75% chance to win. I tell you what, even when I have the 60% chance, I'm going to look for the 75% chance, unless I'm streaming and I'm 6 hours into it, in which case I'm going to play my cards and wonder why I didn't do something different, as everyone in chat points it out. But game number 3.
I'm taking the 60% chance, Nathan. I like to live dangerously. I like to risk it.
Live it on the edge.
If I knew the next lyric, I would say it, but I don't.
Only a classic song.
Mm-hmm.
Attendant Grace doesn't know. Game number 3, Warrior for Nicolina. And Mage for Fatalocity. This matchup looks like it's probably a little bit better for Fatalocity than the prior ones were. I would say got put into pretty awkward spots in the first 2 games. But, Conquest, that's the way it rolls. It doesn't typically matter too much because you got to win a game with every single one of your decks anyway.
Yeah.
So how does this lineup fare versus Warrior? We're going to find out.
We get a Cthulhu Warrior. I saw a shield block in the opening hand. Now seeing that Twin Emperor. Ooh, that's a pretty important card, too. There's a Justicar. Nathan, we might be seeing some tank up in this matchup. I can't do it as well as you can, I know.
It's one of my favorites. Well, Fatalocity is going to have something to say about that, I think. There's quite a bit of gas in this hand, and that is a very heavy hand for Nicolina. I mean, we're looking at no real plays.
So here's the funny thing.
Lots of turns.
Yeah, whenever I'm playing with this deck, any of the Control Warrior decks, these hands, when you have them, you always feel stressed, right? You're like, oh man, I have just hero power as an option. I have nothing going on. I feel that these hands are actually deceptively good against players that pay attention, especially in this kind of situation, because if you take your time on your turn and thumb over some cards and then armor up, they're going to think about Brawl every single time because you haven't played a card, right? And they're like, oh, they're just trying to get maximum Brawl value here. And so it actually gives you a little bit of extra time, I feel, in some situations that they normally wouldn't.
Yeah. Always going to depend on the opponent in that situation. And here, Fatalocity, I think, faced with another very real decision where I'm very interested in the lack of coin use here. I feel like Fatalocity is not utilizing his Mana Worms properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this was a great spot to Mana Worm, coin, Sorcerer's Apprentice, go wide on board. I mean, Brawl's 2 turns off. I don't understand it. I'd hate to, again, I don't really want to criticize people, but is the Mana Worm more valuable than this situation? Is the coin more valuable than, I don't really know. This is rough.
Yeah, I think I would have shied towards playing the Mana Worm as well, Nathan, the play that you lined up, because it gives you 2 3 power minions in play, and you start chipping away at this armor as quickly as possible. And for your opponent to really punish you there, it's going to take multiple cards. Flame Strike added to Fatalocity's hand. That's a card that might not find a lot of value in this game, but there's a good chance you're going to see him fire it off. It represents some extra damage from a Flame Waker. It represents an extra card on his Yogg-Saron later in the game, because this is going to be a Yogg-Saron game, most likely.
Yeah, you can see the concern here for Brawl as well, holding on to the Mana Worm, still, despite the fact he's got 1 mana up. And so this is going to be revenge, and execute to handle it. So I think that the message is there. There is not a Brawl in hand.
Yeah.
Is this too little too late, though? Because now the hand is heavy. The utility isn't there. That Mana Worm would have lived that turn if it would have been in play. Fatalocity, I think, would have run away with this one had he played that Mana Worm early on. Again, obviously, the risk of Brawl was the concern there. But now suddenly you find yourself in this spot. And, I mean, I'm launching both the spells this turn. There's not there's not a chance I'm not using this Arcane Missiles, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many bad spots for it later. What if they have something like Acolyte of Pain? There's a couple minions where if you hit them separately, Yeah, I feel like we missed out on a little bit of damage there. You got to believe that this Mana Worm is not going to live another turn in this matchup, most likely. So I think just getting as much damage as possible, because next turn you're coining out this Ragnaros.
Yeah. Which the Ragnaros actually is going to stick here, too. Nicolina does not have a way to answer Ragnaros, so there is that side of the story as well, where coining into Ragnaros now has produced 8 damage and potentially 16.
Yeah. What cards is Nicolina looking for here? He's looking for like the... I guess you could look for the other execute shield block.
Not a second Fiery War Axe.
This is looking bad. Are you going to have to just Twin Emperor here?
Well, I'm also tempted to just take 8 damage and then tank up and shield slam. I mean, the Twin Emperor right now is not active. And, you don't draw Cthulhu buffs. This suddenly is a very overcosted 4/6 taunt. And that's the play. So Fatalocity now is aware of what build it is also.
All right, so here there's some interesting lines you can take. You can make your arcane missiles better along this Cult Sorcerer and this Sorcerer's Apprentice. You can make it free, get in a couple extra shots here. This is never going to clear the Twin Emperor. There was some Flame Strike stuff that you could do here to guarantee a clear, but this way you get the 50-50 at it going face, and that is going to be interesting, and see if this game can finish off from here.
Yeah, I think Nicolina can still pull us out, but it's going to be really tough.
She's going to need the Ragnaros to cooperate.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is Ragnaros cooperating here. Like I'm even eyeing trading in the 4/6 and using tank up and shield slam. Like, and that's sort of the danger of this. Is last turn the Ragnaros represented kind of the same amount of damage as this did, and so we'll take the trade this time. Took the same amount of damage, but is in the spot at 10. Fiery War Axe, 4/2 Divine Shield in play. Not the worst situation, but certainly not the best.
I'll say Fireball would have ended it here, but not the draw from Fatalocity. Mana Worm into Arcane Missiles, though, does present multiple threats here, and you can ping off this Divine Shield, hopefully, remove the 4/2 from play here, but his missiles have not been cooperating so far in this match, so
yeah,
he's got to be feeling like this is just never going to work out for him.
Well, we're also rolling into the Yogg turn here, so I feel like Hero Power Flame Strike Arcane Missiles is totally reasonable.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I talked about, where I feel like you just want to play all of your spells here.
Yeah, I'd be I'd be very surprised if the Arcane Missile didn't cast. There's the Flame Strike. There's the Arcane Missile. That pushes Nicolina down to 4 points of health and facing down 6. I don't know if this is down to 4 health here. I don't know if a win's being found here.
I mean, she could Cthulhu here, possibly, clear the board. You don't get to tank up, but, I mean, you can't leave these minions sitting around. I guess you could kill Mana Worm, tank up to 5. You lose to a lot of things that way. If you Cthulhu and it doesn't clear, you're in really, really bad shape as well.
Yeah, I mean, you still die to the same amount of stuff, even if the Cthulhu clears. Which is the Fire War Axe. The difference is you get an 8/8 out this way. So, I don't know. I think this is kind of like this is one of those spots where if your opponent has the right card, you're just donezo. This does have a failure rate built into it.
Oh, it does not clear, and that's actually going to be game.
Yep. GG, game number 1, Nicolina.
Yep.
And
so we're not going to see our
produce.
Yeah, we're not going to see our second straight sweep here in the semifinals. That's a win on the board for Fatalocity here. So we're going to see the other decks that he's brought here today as well. So we're going to see what Druid deck he brought. I have to believe we're going to see another Yogg-Saron, the very popular Druid deck. I mean, I don't think there's really another Druid deck making waves anytime soon. Could see Beast Druid again in the future. Spoiler alert, but
there wasn't a new Beast printed.
Yeah,
the Karazhan spoils. Yep, does have an unlock in here as well. You called it earlier. Maybe Eternal Sentinel. So the build, there it is. So Fatalocity going to be playing Shaman. Here again, that Elemental Destruction. Of course, not very good in this matchup.
Not at all. You got to believe this might be an entire mulligan for Nicolina. Unless, I mean, I've seen people argue that you keep Justicar just off power in matchups where you want to be gaining as much life, but I think you need to be interacting a little too much early in the game to be keeping a card that costs 6 mana.
When your opponent's playing an aggro deck, that's sort of really the key factor there, is whether or not you do that. Now, the Twin Emperor is the one that I'm kind of debating of. if we have enough Cthulhu buffs in a row and get to Twin Emperor turn, that one's tough to beat. I have
if you're above
incredibly high win rate when I play Twin Emperor, and my opponent can't just run over it on board and then kill me afterwards. So I think there's a little bit of consideration there. But we saw 2 copies of Revenge. To me, that signals 2 copies of Brawl as well. I would venture to say this is getting thrown back in search of something a little bit more, sustained on board. Which Fiery War Axe and Disciple of Cthulhu are definitely 2 of those cards.
Oh yeah, I gotta say Fireworks probably the most important card in this matchup. Disciple of Cthulhu also really important. It allows you to trade up into Totem Golem and stuff like that. But yeah, this is nice to have Tunnel Drog on 1, but I'd like you to meet everyone's favorite and least favorite card in Warrior, Fiery War X.
They always have it.
They always have it, Nathan. They always have it.
Yep. Totem Golem going to be answered as well with Disciple of Cthulhu. This is a fantastic start for Nicolina.
Also, I kind of want to talk about the start that Fatalocity have here. Whenever I have coin in my hand has Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem in it, I'm actually a pretty big fan of coining out Totem Golem into Tunnel Trog. It's way better against Fiery War Axe. It gets way more damage in. The card's a lot harder to kill, and it's a higher priority to kill, so your Tunnel Trog is going to survive most of the time anyway. And you getting that 1 extra damage on your Tunnel Trog is actually less than the damage that you get from your Golem over the span of the game a lot of times.
I actually found myself at prelims a lot of times versus Warrior not playing Tunnel Trog on turn 1. And I found myself instead a lot of times, saving it for a turn like this one with Feral Spirit.
Right.
Or literally not playing it on turn 1 and then on turn 2 playing Tunnel Trog and then coin Totem Golem. I found both of those plays happening quite a bit.
And I like this. Fatalocity is going to turn up the heat. Let's go.
Yeah.
This is rolling into turn 5. I don't know if there's a Harrison in Nicolina's deck, but if there is, this would be a really good spot to draw it.
Well, I'm going to venture to say there's not a Harrison, and I don't think Fatalocity has a way to play around Harrison anyway, other than to get it on board early. Like, quite literally playing it sooner rather than later is the way to play around Harrison here.
Yeah.
And just hope that your opponent does not have it right now.
Vector of Evil, gonna go ahead and pump that Cthulhu. Big fan of that card. Go ahead and play this Disciple. Gonna pump it as well, get some damage going. But the minion was not removed here, so that's gonna be a few more points of damage if Fatalocity wants his turn, and he's gonna get a big development here by unlocking these crystals. Gonna add a 3/2 and 2/2/3s this turn, and yeah, this Doomhammer gonna do some work at cleaning up here too.
Now, this is really the kind of turn that Fatalocity's been looking for the entire series so far. That Fighting War X is a bit late.
It still gets some work done, but Nicolina, her turn, she can't execute Fireworks and Armor Up this turn, which would have been really clean and really good. But still, getting most of these minions off the board and gaining 2 life here, not the end of the world. I think she needs to draw that Twin Emperors real soon, though.
Yeah, I mean, the gas needed desperately here. Oh my. 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 10, 13, 18 total available this turn.
And then you still have to answer everything? Yeah, I would just go for it.
This is not going to use the Abusive Sergeant. I am a little bit surprised by that. Maybe just wanted to get the damage in under Twin Emperor, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, I like this play, actually. If you're thinking about, like, worst-case scenarios. Because you still have hero power. Yeah.
This is much better versus Twin Emperor.
Because it would be her entire turn, so you get the... If it is Twin Emperors, which is the worst-case scenario, you can still just hit the right totem, the 1 and 5, and kill her on the spot. It's gonna go down 4.
Yep, that's going to do it. Doomhammer wrapping up game number 4 here. Fatalocity on match point after this one, and Nicolina on match point as well. Game number 5, always the one I love to see.
Nathan, I gotta ask you, what side of the matchup do you like to be on, Dex notwithstanding, where someone gets out to a 2-0 lead, and they're like feeling great, they're like, I pretty much can't lose this match, and then all of a sudden you're in game 5. What side do you prefer to be on?
The favorable side.
Of course you would answer that way. Never a straight answer.
Whatever side has the better matchup.
I said Dex notwithstanding. I said Dex notwithstanding. What side do you want to be on, Nathan?
Well, I'm vetoing the notwithstanding part. I don't. For me personally, it doesn't really matter that much. I would say that generally, though, obviously coming back from behind is like that's the spot you want to be in. You've seen more of your opponent's deck at this point. Are they doubting it at this point? There's always that factor to come into it as well. But I'll tell you what, I definitely would want to be on the Druid side in this particular matchup. Dex withstanding.
So here's an interesting one. Do you keep Living Roots here? You've seen Revenge, but you haven't seen Ravaging Ghoul, and you haven't seen Acolyte of Pain yet. And you know that it's a Cthulhu warrior.
I mean, I'm debating keeping this whole hand if I'm in Fatalocity's spot.
All these cards are really powerful in this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, the real question is how risk averse that Fatalocity's been, and I don't think it's really a question of what I would do at this spot. It's what Fatalocity's going to do. I mean, we've seen him be super conservative with Mana Worm so far. I don't know if Living Roots is really a card that he's considering keeping right now.
Yeah, and I think we've had this discussion again before. My opinion on Living Roots and the Warrior matchups, I pretty much never keep it in my opening hand against the Warrior matchups. There's too many ways for them to just, straight up get value off the card. But this is one of the versions that I could see possibly keeping it, because there's a good chance there's not a Ravaging Ghoul. To
me, he keeps only the Living Roots, which is a really big story here. Mm-hmm. Like Violet Teacher and Fandral are two very significant threats versus Warrior. Those things have to be answered. And so when he pitches them away, now he's picked up a handful of spells. I don't know if I don't know if I favor the spells over the minions. I mean, I personally do not.
I will say this. I'm going to give some props to Fatalocity. He's playing one of my favorite cards, Wisp of the Old Gods. I love that card. One of those cards when I first saw it is like, the first version of this card wasn't playable. Why is the second version of this card going to be playable? And this one is actually good. Yeah,
it's pretty darn savage. Roar.
I see what you did there, Nathan. I got it.
Gets 2 damage on the minion, 4 extra damage to face. It does give up a little bit of extra reach in the long term, but I think Fatalocity is really eyeing just kind of the next draw more than anything else. I mean, this is just going to continue to get more and more brutal at this point. Mm-hmm. Here's a Yogg-Saron. That's a very good card in this matchup.
Yeah, I could even play it on turn 8 if he wanted, because he's got nothing but spells in time before then. And he's got this Innervate that could possibly, you go turn 7, Wisp of the Old God, turn 8, Yogg-Saron. It's a pretty big game. And you're going to start to see that Nicolina's hand is a little slow here. I did really like playing out of the Brand last turn, though. It's just a high priority target that Fatalocity has to deal with. And that's a pretty good draw here as well.
It goes to the 2-2, I agree. I think the board pressure is worth more than anything else at this point. But again, this kind of ties back into the minion situation that I was referring to earlier. I mean, if you could have, I'm pretty happy to try the Smirekeeper on turn 5. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy with a Violet Teacher on turn 4.
Yeah, I'm happy with anything that puts power on the board. Actually, there.
Yeah.
This is one of the better ones.
Fighter there.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not another Living Roots. I probably wouldn't be happy with another Living Roots there.
Perfect draw.
Yeah. Living Roots, Hero Power, go.
Going Justicar and Fatalocity's just jamming out. Mm-hmm. A lot of interesting plays at this point now.
Yeah, he's actually going to slow. He was about to just trade immediately, but I think he's going to slow down and think about it, because there's some plays here with Innervate and give your guys +2/+2 here.
Yeah, but he's going to go.
Or even just Feral Rage, get a trade in that way.
Yeah, second Mirekeeper I think is much better. Again, I'm very happy with the Mirekeeper here. Just any 4 mana 5 power card in this matchup. And this is not a strong turn for Nicolina. Is Disciple of Cthulhu, Hero Power. Now, it is a tank up, so it's something going for him at this point.
Does that get her Cthulhu up to 10 power? She's played a Beckoner of Evil as well, so yeah, at least it does set up a good...
This might end the game here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of damage.
How much is this exactly?
20 points, it looks like.
Yeah. So, looking for a Brawl off the top. Ancient Shieldbearer does gain 10 life here. You can remove 4 off the board. That's not going to be enough. Oh, and the Brawl off the top.
Oh. Okay, so, how do you sequence this? Because what I'm looking at is Brawl is not enough to win if you don't win the Brawl. Mm-hmm. Now, Nicolina may not be thinking about that. She may just be thinking, if I can kill the last minion that lives, I can still win this turn, or I can still live this game. And
so how do you kill the last minion?
Right, so the consideration I'm seeing is there ever a chance you want to attack one of the bigger minions, it gets damaged, you brawl, if either that minion or your minion lives, you get to execute. Now the problem is she's at 4. So when this trade happens, this is quite literally win the brawl, tank up, and hope that I stabilize afterwards, which I'm totally okay with this too. I think both these are fine. Ooh, Disciple Cthulhu doesn't make it. Fatalocity with that extra 4 damage on the Feral Rage. Got to pull off the reverse sweep here.
Wow, what a comeback from Fatalocity here. You can see it on his face too how relieved he is, because anytime you're down 0-2 in a matchup with best of 3, best of 5, it feels like all the world is against you. You know, you're like, everything's been going wrong in the matchup, and you're like, how do I ever win from here? And you saw it on his face too. Like while those 2 games that he was losing, you saw he was like really down on himself. He's like, oh, you know, like everything's going wrong. And then you steadily saw him get back into the match, and he's like more confident with his plays. And you know, he played really well here in this last game and drew pretty well. And Nicolina's Warrior deck, I feel like it kind of let her down here in these last 2 games.
It's like Phone Tap's Druid. Just didn't get the job done.
We've been seeing that a lot in the top 4 here today.
Yep, you cannot have a weak spot in your lineup, and the Cthulhu Warrior was, in this series, it was clearly the weak spot. I mean, did not win a game in 3 tries. That's something to think about with that build. I mean, I think the other 2 builds were just fine. They were spot on, just deal damage and push damage and hope to get a job done. It doesn't really line up with the other 2 though. You know, you just suddenly have a very slow build in the lineup. You know, I mean, still that 3rd place match to play for, but the big one here is hunting for that win and getting that spot in the feature, where Fatalocity finds himself in the finals now. This one, so still a little bit of cash to play for, but I mean, losing 3 times in a row with Warrior, that's brutes.
Yeah, it's got to feel really, really bad. And she's going to get a chance at redemption against the other player that had the same thing happen to them. Yeah, they lost 3 times in a row with Druid. So I think they should just play Druid versus Warrior in the first game, because someone has to win that game. At least that's the way the game works. And that way we can get it out the way. You know, nobody's going to like 0-6 with a deck, you know, or hopefully not 0-6 with a deck. So we can get it out the way. But as you said, big win for Fatalocity here, because this gives them a chance to qualify for one of those, you know, invite-only spots that are coming up for a lot of money, and then you could maybe even roll that into, you know, a trip to PAX. And I want to see someone win the last Open, right? Get to a feature, win that, so they get to go to PAX, and then win PAX. I want to see someone just run the table at the very last chance.
Well, you know how you have to have that happen, right?
How's that?
You got to sign up for Open number 10, which is taking place on August 2nd. Head over to the website, geico.onog.gg. The 10th and final Open is taking place, again, on August 2nd. If you win that tournament, leads into the feature event number 5. The last feature event is taking place on August 4th, 5th, and 6th, which I've been told Trump is and will be playing in for that one. So for you fans out there, Trump, something to look forward to there. Do need to be 18 years or older and a U.S. resident in order to play, but there's a $1,000 prize pool in it. And so this is the best Open series that's out there. If you're one of those people that asked, how do I get into competitive play? Step number 1 is playing Open tournaments that cue you into bigger major tournaments. That is the way to do it. So we have our 3rd match coming up, but before we do that, we want to take this time to thank the sponsors that make this event possible. GEICO for being the title sponsor of the event. If you insure anything with GEICO, and I mean anything at all, GEICO can save you some money on that. I insure my beard. Tannen insures his jawline. Head over to the website, geico.onog.gg. Get yourself a quote and also sign up to win a Cyber Power Gamer Extreme 1000 PC on the website as well. Big thanks to them for providing that. And then also to Video Game Voters Network, a grassroots network of gamers encouraging the esports community to get out there and vote in the 2016 election. They host a lot of contests, a lot of giveaways, stuff like that on the website. It's videogamevoters.com if you guys want to visit over there as well. So quick break, and when we come back, our 3rd match of the day will be getting underway. Don't go anymore, guys. More Hearthstone right after this.
Segway game too strong.
Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Circuit Open number 9. We are back with our third match of the day. This is a third and fourth place match that's taking place. I am Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora. Joining me is the Tannen Grace, who let me know that during the break he should have gone to the bathroom. But instead he didn't, and so he's stuck here for a series that I hope goes to 5 games. Tannen, we saw Phone Tap drop 3 games with Druid. We saw Nicolina drop 3 games with Warrior. Who's got the edge in this matchup? Who's taking it, and why?
I don't wish ill on anyone, but I hope someone gets 3-0 in this match, so I do have time to go to the bathroom. But no, I think whoever can just, move past getting 3-0'd in one deck is going to have the biggest edge in this matchup. I don't see any huge, glaring things in their lineups. It's, one person's going to get over on the other one. Hopefully one of them gets a win with these decks that got 0 wins, but to me, this is more about a story of redemption. Both of these players were, they didn't get 0-3'd. Phone Tap got 0-3, but then Nicolina got out to a 2-0 lead and then got 0-3'd from there, which that just feels bad, man. I mean, if I lose a match where I was up 2-0 in a best of 5, I feel like I messed up somewhere. I feel like that it's my fault that we didn't get through this.
Oh, it's your fault when someone loses. Don't worry.
Oh, I will take it. Yeah. You know what? I'll take all the blame. You guys, everyone watching at home, your bad RNG, your bad Qs, they're all my fault. Just blame it on TTG.
Hashtag blame Tannen.
Hashtag blame TTG. I like it. I want this hashtag to start. No press is bad press.
I'm starting right now. Hashtag.
I'm surprised you haven't done this yet.
Yeah. Well, I get bigger priorities. I have much bigger priorities than worrying about Tannen Grace hashtags to start for other people. Well, I'm sort of the beard controls me. Everyone thinks it's the other way around. I promise. It's the beard's got the mind of its own. Sometimes we have arguments about stuff like what oil we're going to use. But Phone Tap, talk about the series here for a moment. Druid, Warlock, and Warrior. We did not see the Warlock. We did not see the Warrior build. Now I know that Phone Tap is a big fan of Dragon Warrior, and that's sort of the deck I think that Nicolina would be most worried about if that was the case. I mean, with the Cthulhu Warrior build, I feel like you have a big edge in any sort of control style mirror match. But we haven't seen the Warlock either from Phone Tap. I mean, this could still be a Reno deck. We're going to have to find out once we roll into the game. You can see that Finley, Frothing Berserker, and Ravaging Ghoul, those all look like Dragon Warrior cards to me. You're going to be taking on Nicolina with Zoo in this first game.
Yeah, these are some pretty good cards against Zoo as well. I like Frothing Berserker against Zoo. I like Ravaging Ghoul against Zoo. So I'm interested to see what he prioritizes keeping in his opening hand here. When you talk about Dragon Warrior, there's actually two different Dragon Warrior decks. There's one that's more curve oriented. It's got a bunch of minions up and down the curve, and then there's one that's way more controlling from there. And then we see Sir Finley. I gotta believe this is the more minion centric one. The other one runs stuff like shield block.
Yeah, to me the other thing here is just phone tap. I mean, the fact that he just really not play that many control decks. He kind of plays decks that are way more aggressive on board, which honestly I think is just a stronger Hearthstone strategy right now. If you're looking purely for wins, minions on board will help you do that a lot. So pitching away the Frothing Berserker, don't really blame him. Second copy of Ravaging Ghoul, and that's 2 copies of Darkshire Councilman. Frothing Berserker, he says, no, I'm back.
Yeah, he really wanted to show up. Yeah, he really wanted to be in this game, Nathan. And you're not going to stop a Frothing Berserker from doing something when they want to do it.
Yep. Spectator Client has shown us no hero powers for phone tap. Ends up with Rogue hero power, which honestly, this is one of the matchups where I feel like the Rogue hero power really shines, is the ability to use it on turn 2 and then couple it with a use on turn 3 and something else. And so 2 pair for phone tap here. Frothing Berserkers over Ravaging Ghouls.
I mean, that's a pretty strong hand. 2 pair usually doesn't lose too much, and I don't see a full house on Nicolina's side of the board here, or straight or a flush. I mean, I guess she kind of has a flush. There's only 4 purple cards. There are 3 purple cards, so there's no flush on that side of the board. So yeah, I mean, phone tap out to an early lead.
There's one of those weird straights, the 1-3-3 2-1-1 straight.
But the coin adds in like the 0, or you can add it or subtract it to a card, so it's actually
like the wheel.
Straight. Yeah, it's the wheel.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Frothing Berserker is actually pretty excellent here. I think this is kind of like the one situation I think it really shines is versus the Zoo 3 drops. Like when Zoo gets off to one of those explosive starts where it just has lots of like tiny little things and then Abusive Sergeant to trade up, Frothing Berserker is kind of at its worst there. Here, the Frothing Berserker represents killing the Voidwalker, keeping a 1-1 around, and having a 4-4 to challenge the Darkshire Councilman. I think the real question here for phone tap is whether or not this dagger gets used this turn.
Because he needs
make
to
the Frothing Berserker 5 power.
Yeah, you have to wonder, does he want to have this charge on for next turn? That's the more important thing here is where do you leave your Frothing Berserker? What power total?
Yeah, that as well. I mean, there's the charge for next turn. I mean, phone tap is not using this hero power for a very long time at this point, it looks like.
Yeah, I kind of like this. Let's get our Frothing Berserker as big as possible, and just in case there's a trade at Nicolina's play here. Here's the thing. Do you think you should ever use the hero power there onto the Councilman just to make sure you only take 1? Or is it just, since you have something like Ravaging Ghoul in your hand, you're not worried about that?
I think the real consideration here is just how to use this hero power in the future. And I think that obviously the Ravaging Ghouls influence that a lot. But I think the bigger difference here is that, just again, he's not going to have time to fit in this hero power pretty much at any stage of this game. Like if he continues to draw on curve, the hero power is just not getting used again. So what he's bought right now, this is the last charge of the dagger, basically, especially if he draws Fiery War Axe. Like that would take precedent over hero powering again most of the time.
I know it does look weird to take Rogue hero power, but as you said, this is one of the matchups where it's actually really good.
Yeah, and it's simply because there's so much 1 health stuff that gets presented.
It's also just really good at Frothing Berserker, too.
Yeah, I mean, just not a lot of strong counterplay to this. I mean, this is going to be it. So we're trying to isolate the Frothing Berserker right now is the goal. Trade up into it afterwards. Maybe we're trading now. We're trading now. Excuse me. So Ravaging Ghoul, certainly the play for phone tap here, and even gets to take out the Voidwalker here, and kind of really understanding the value of that extra charge on the dagger. It's illustrated right here. I mean, being able to take out a 1-1, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. But Nicolina would be able to Abusive Sergeant this 1-1, trade up into this Ravaging Ghoul. Suddenly the Ravaging Ghoul is sticking to the board.
Yeah, and then you get to follow this up with what's, in my opinion, one of the strongest cards in Hearthstone, in Blackwing Corruptor. I mean, you get a 5/4 body for 5 mana plus 3 damage out of it as a battle cry. I mean, you do have to have dragons, but this is the reason to play dragon decks for me. Like, this is the card that puts these decks over the top, in my opinion. I mean, that card is just so powerful in situations. I mean, if you want, you have a great clear here, and you still have a huge board.
Yeah, I mean, phone tap's going to basically run away with the game at this point. I mean, you're looking at taking out a threat for almost free, having 8 points of damage on board, and multiple things to do on your turn 6, while your zoo opponent, whose game plan is to swarm the board and take advantage of that, has no minions out.
Yeah. All right, Crazy Alchemist out. Is there any cool things you can do here? I don't really think so. You can turn Blackman Corruptor into a Yeti. It doesn't really get you anywhere. I mean, I don't really see. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't really see many great plays here. I think you have to try to find your other copy of Ritual here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only way to back into this, and Votep even has another Ravaging Ghoul sitting in place for that. Yeah,
oh yeah,
this is not even. Scoop. I don't even think that this is too soon. Like the game has been fairly decided at this point. I mean, Phone Tap's hand would have to literally be something like execute, inner rage, or something weird to be able to pull out of that game.
You still probably can't beat that. You probably still can't beat that game either. That's the bad part. And there's something to be said about just saving mental energy too at this point as well. I mean, if you're like really tired and you're just like, I'm winning this game maybe like 3% of the time. Let's just go to the next one, man. I'm tired. I've been playing all day.
That is not so much of a concession as it is, I think, just common sense. I mean, really just respect is really what that shows. I mean, that game is literally being won like maybe 1 out of 10,000 times, maybe.
Yeah.
So very easy game for Phone Tap in game number 1. Again, just his opening hand. Taking the Rogue Hero Power, I'd really like to see what his other options were, because most of the time I'll just take a stronger Hero Power than the Rogue one. I mean, I almost never take the Rogue one when I'm playing Dragon Warrior. But against Zoo, it makes a lot of sense. And so Zoo Mirror Match is what we're going to face now. Nicolina, it's the first sight of Doomguard that we've seen. And Phone Tap, he's on coin. So this matchup is a really interesting one because the attacker's advantage is a very real thing. In general, the player who's going first has an advantage. Being able to dictate trades matters a lot in this matchup. It's not so much about face damage as it is about very effective use of the board.
Yeah, the first person to get a really good trade in usually just steamrolls from that point, because as we've seen, Zoo is not the best deck in the world at playing from behind. So if you ever put them in a situation where you have a board and they don't, or your board's just so much better than theirs is, there's only like one real play, like 1 or 2 plays they can possibly do, and then involve like Knife Juggler and Ritual to get back into a game, and then that's also random. You know, like the knives could not cooperate, and then you just get crushed on the way back again as well. So I find that this matchup is like one of the most stressful for the first like 3 turns of the game. You know, you have to overthink every situation for the first 2 to 3 to 4 turns of the game, and then it's just kind of instinctual from there. You're just like, yeah, trade, push. You know, like the first person to get the advantage generally wins easily.
Fantastic opening hand for Phone Tap.
With double flame. He's got a Sea Giant in his deck. That is huge in the mirror.
That is a really big card in this mirror match. I mean, usually at some point, one player has to make the decision to build board tension and hope that pushing damage yields a better result than trying to trade. When that happens, if your opponent has Sea Giant, you basically lose.
You get super punished, and God forbid they have it along with the Defender of Argus, because there's no easy way to get through a 9/9 taunt minion in this matchup at all. It's just a huge roadblock that's generally going to be too much for you to deal with anyway. Not to mention the fact that an 8/8 is generally too much.
Yeah. Gonna go with the double flame imp here. There was a couple opportunities, I think, to really dig in this turn and figure out a line other than the flame imp, but it's probably just the spot to be in. And so Nicolina, not so much of a fantastic hand. I mean, I think the Forbidden Rituals, in a lot of matchups, casting this for 2, I think is totally fine. In this matchup, I don't think that's okay most of the time, unless you have like some significant buffs in hand.
Yeah, I like the Crazy Alchemist here. It puts a 2/2 into play that can, answer this flame imp that's in play. And you doing it this way, you don't have to change the power of toughness on your opponent's flame imp, which is an actual nightmare, because then you just wasted a card.
Yeah.
And now if you're Phone Tap, do you develop another minion here? You can protect your flame imp, but that leaves a mana floating, and you don't get to tap.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough spot to be in. I mean, if he plays the Voidwalker and chooses not to trade, a buff is going to kill this Voidwalker and leave behind a 2/1, and that's probably the worst case scenario. So we'll take the trade, and that's going to be Imp King Boss available too. I mean, that card is really good. I don't know if it's better than the Darkshire Councilman, simply because the Councilman can contest the Voidwalker on the following turn.
Right.
But that
Yeah, I
card's
think that's
very good this matchup. Yep.
Yeah.
We're about to see how good it is, I think.
Yeah. Well, see, I think that's the only reason that you forego playing Imp Gang Boss there is you want to be able to challenge the Voidwalker here on the next turn. Otherwise, you just have such a good Councilman next turn where you could run the Imp Gang Boss into stuff, play the Arctic Squire as well. I mean, you have like a lot of different options from that point.
I mean, Phone Tap, it's really interesting to see like how the board presence affects the order of minions here.
And I was about to say, I think I like a Trump trade here.
Well, that one just makes sense, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know that the Councilman's going to run over this Voidwalker next turn.
Might as well get some extra damage in. This one damage to the face, most likely not going to be the difference in the game. But if you can get this Councilman off the board a tiny bit easier, like, now any kind of buff takes care of it here, it just makes your game a lot easier for you.
Yeah, and so we're about to see the problem with not having the attacker's advantage.
Well, if
you in this situation,
if you attack the village councilman, I mean the villager here, do you get to play Sea Giant?
So you attack the villager, you get one extra minion. If you attack the Imp Gang boss,
you get two extra. That's what I meant.
Giant.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that a play that you want to make here? Because it does grow the councilman, and then the councilman could possibly kill off your Sea Giant. That might be a little too aggressive.
That's sort of the problem with that play, is that the councilman is on board. I mean, you just kind of lose your Sea Giant sometimes. So I don't really know what the play is for Phone Tap here. I mean, all of these look pretty bad.
Is it just a councilman PO trade? God, that feels so bad.
They all feel bad, and that's the attacker's advantage. Is being the first one to dictate the trades, you restrict your opponent's options. Zoo does not have a lot of come from behind options. They have a lot of stay ahead mechanics.
Yeah, and Phone Tap doesn't have either one of the cards that he needs. You need Forbidden Ritual, you need Knife Juggler to make that kind of stuff happen. I guess he figured this is the best way to do this. All my other options are bad.
I mean, it's probably right, honestly. I mean, at the very least, you're pulling an 8-power Councilman off board.
Yeah, I was about to say, it does force, your opponent into making the trade for you, and then maybe you get initiative back if it takes their whole turn and a bunch of cards to do so.
If Nicolina has one extra damage here, the Councilman can live through this attack as well, but I feel like this game is going to quickly snowball out of control for Phone Tap. I mean, this is just so strong.
Mm-hmm. Do you start with tap here? Yeah, I was going to say, I like starting with tap here.
Well, the tap is certainly interesting. So this is going to spell value trades.
Mm-hmm.
If the tap comes first. So at this point, Nicolina is just willing to take the 8 damage and just have such a wide board presence that Phone Tap can't deal with it. Yeah, this is totally fine.
Yeah, just isolating the Sea Giant here. I like this. Build up a few more minions and just put yourself in a good spot, because now Phone Tap's gonna have the problem where he's got this giant minion on board, but he's presented with multiple threats.
Yep. And this is probably even a spot where the Direwolf Alpha doesn't get dropped. It's just the extra 1/1s with the protection on them. I don't know, he will drop Direwolf Alpha. I mean, the Councilman is an 8/8, so I guess this just puts the most power on board. Or an 8/1, rather. The Councilman has to be checked here, and the only way Phone Tap has to check it right now is his 8/8 Sea Giant. Or perhaps the Doom Guard from hand, discarding 2 cards. I mean, this game, this is one of the rare situations where Sea Giant was just purely a liability because Phone Tap didn't have another play in hand. His hand got way too clunky. Nicolina got the board first, and the Councilman's out of control now.
And Zoo Mirrors are stupid.
I think they're great.
Yeah, no, it's obviously great. I'm just saying it's this aggro deck. You feel like aggro deck should be going face, but they're 2 decks that are built to trade, and they're just like trade. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, this guy just got out the trump card in the mirror match, and it's just not gonna matter.
You said trump card, and I immediately pictured that mockumentary.
Oh God,
where Johnny Depp plays Donald Trump. And that brings me to my next trump card. Know your market.
Well, the market's trade here in this matchup, so
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Counting up the damage, you can see the mouse over every single minion glowing red down the side.
Yeah. That's always the worst feeling when you're on the other side. You see them start counting up everything. It's like the old days against Druid, when you see them start counting and they have combo in their hand. You're like, oh my God, they actually have 26. Like,
and then they miss lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no lethal here. At least I don't think there is.
Well, what happens if you tap into PO?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It looks like there's going to be some trades in order here. I mean, if you're going to tap this turn, I do like tapping first.
If that trade comes into play, I imagine this is Forbidden Ritual instead.
Yeah, let's say this looks like one of those turns. Going to use Abusive Sergeant here to kind of trade up into this Councilman. I don't think you want to trade that guy off just yet. You want to replace these minions. You don't want to, take up more space here. I think you just develop
I
the
still like the
corner
tap.
here.
I still like the tap still. Like,
Okay.
you're giving up a life tap for one extra minion here.
Yeah, I definitely like that as well.
Well,
Oof.
they travel in packs.
Yeah. You never see just one. It's always both.
Like Pringles.
Votep kind of laughing about it. Kind of lamenting that as well.
Oh, yeah, I had them backwards, right? An American doesn't know this potato chip slogans? Goodness gracious. What kind of American am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, Doomguard gets drawn for Nicolina as well. This is lights out for Phone Tap.
Gonna value the tap here over the Argent Squire. Don't mind seeing that as well.
Not at all. That's way better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get a really good trade here. You're gonna have a Doom card left over at 5/2. Attack with a bunch of 1/1s here, and I don't think there's a card in Phone Tap's deck that gets him out of here.
All right, so if we draw a Knife Juggler and tap into Forbidden Ritual and get perfect juggles, we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, it could be a start. I mean, he's going to be really low on life. No, this can't be a start.
Okay, so hold on. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. Now she's just short. Even with like doing trades into Abusive Sergeant Direwolf Alpha, I think she's just short.
Yeah, I still think this is probably a push here, though. I mean, you can set Phone Tap to 2.
Yeah, and then you can't ever tap. There's no
He has to
card that
trade
saves
your
him here.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what's taking her a second. I think she's figuring that one out. That I think just attacking with everything here is probably correct.
Well, there's a lot of different situations that can occur. And so when the board gets to the 7 minion versus 7 minion state, this is usually the one where you have to think of the most.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Phone Tap. He's like, yeah, like whatever happens, happens. He's like, wasn't even watching the game.
Looks like it's going to be a trade down here. Maybe it's a push after all.
Yeah, just getting the most damage possible on the side with the Direwolf Alpha and just get in.
It's going to
I
trade down
see
to
here,
protect
okay.
the Doom Guard. And then... Oh, wait. I lied. So we don't protect the Doom Guard. Doesn't really matter, though. I mean, Phone Tap just doesn't have a way out of this game.
Yeah, the Defender of Argus is not even good enough here. Well, yeah, let's see. There's no way even with perfect juggles there.
Yep. So, Phone Tap drops game number 2. We're at a 1-1 tie. Still have that Warlock available. But
There's no 3-0 sweep here, Nathan. I regret my decisions during the break to not use the restroom.
Cthulhu Warrior still in the lineup as well.
Oh, don't remind me that there's control decks involved too. Why would you do that? You're so
Love it.
mean.
I know.
God, you're so mean.
So, Phone Tap was still with Druid and Warlock. We have seen now, obviously, Sue. We saw in the first series that the Druid was the token Yogg-Saron versions that have become incredibly popular lately. And so, Nicolina battling with Shaman and Cthulhu Warrior. I'm really, really curious how this Cthulhu Warrior is going to end up performing, because I feel like against Druid, that matchup can go really bad for you if the Druid just has a lot of pressure, and the Zoo matchup is going to quite literally come down to whether or not you answer the early game threats. If you don't have it, and then you don't have like the Revenge of the Brawl to follow up, you can just get sunk. And so Shaman is going to be the cue here for Nicolina, and Phone Tap, I think, totally okay with that. This is a matchup that we've very often seen go in favor of Zoo.
Absolutely. You trade better, your minions stick around a little bit more, and you have less burn spells in your deck, which is a good thing, actually, in this matchup, because it's a lot about the board for the first few turns, and if you draw one too many burn spells, you cannot keep up on the board with these decks. However, this is a pretty good turn 1 when you have a Totem Golem packing this up. Now, I know I said earlier I usually like when you have coin to Totem Golem first and to play the Tunnel Trog the next turn, but this is a better play against Zoo.
Yeah, I think I like this a lot better because of the way this sets up the turn 2. Kind of just playing the totem golem, I think, is bad. If you run into either the ones that have shields or you run into abusive sergeant, you lose your totem golem.
Right.
And this way, the totem trog actually threatens to trade something. So phone tap kind of put in a little bit of an awkward spot here by this.
Yeah, I think this is actually just the best way to play that hand. It's almost always correct to do it the other way in every other matchup, but in this one particularly, with the way the Zoo deck is constructed and the cards that come in behind what's going on, that is actually right. And yeah, as you said, this is an awkward spot. Has to forego playing a 2-drop here and just play this Argent Squire on turn 2.
Yep. And so for Nicolina, I'm curious if this spell's trading into the shield or going face, and it will be play for the board here. And we kind of mentioned this earlier, like the Shaman doesn't really do a lot of trading in this matchup. The trading that's done is to kind of ensure a board position. And so once you have the board position, that's when the damage push begins, and hope that you have enough burn to finish it. That's typically why Zoof ends up being favored in this matchup, is it's really hard to get favorable board states against a deck that's just purely designed to do only that.
Yeah, I mean, like the Shamans, like you said, they're just looking for if they can find one repetitive source of damage and then finish you off with like a Doomhammer into a burn spell or two. Now, one of the Rockbiter weapons is gone, so if Phone Tap can keep the board kind of in check over the next few turns, it takes away some of the burst potential that Nicolina has. There's none of those 10 damage turns from Doomhammer plus Rockbiter weapon, and that's a big deal in this matchup because it often comes down to like 1 or 2 turns of being able to just finish them off before they draw, one of their lethal combinations of like Doomhammer plus Rockbiter or like, a bunch of Lava Bursts to just finish you off, because you have to tap at some point in time in this matchup most of the time as well.
Yeah, this Flame Tongue Totem, I mean, you pretty much spelled it out there too. I mean, that's the Rockbiter being gone it's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here for Phone Tap. The problem with this is that the damage is really going to start adding up. Nicolina needs 1 good draw on turn 4 to solidify this position. It's been 2 Doomhammers drawn, which that's basically done this matchup. The game's going to end before you get that many charges of Doomhammer gone. And if there's not a good draw on turn 4, it means the Doomhammer's on cleanup duty. And that's kind of the situation where Nicolina can really fall out of the game. So does try to isolate the board position here. Phone Tap hits up Dark Peddler.
Yeah, I like that isolation.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot. This is a really interesting spot.
Yeah, I like the isolation because it protects your minions the best. Also, it plays around Sea Giant, which she knows is in Phone Tap's deck. She saw it in the last game. So this, it's a good play on like multiple fronts. Not only does it protect your minions, it, helps worst case scenarios not happen against you here, because that's a way she loses at the game. Is if Phone Tap makes an 8/8 this turn, that is really hard to race.
Yeah. Now, once again, really interesting choices. This is my problem with playing Dark Peddler this turn, is I don't really know what I'm looking for exactly. Most of the time I play Dark Peddler, I have an idea of what I'm looking for.
Mortal Coil would have been like okay. You can...
Mortal Coil would have been pretty nutso here.
Yeah. It removes 4 damage on the board. I think that's pretty good.
Yep, I think the Voidwalker's best. Just try to isolate the board state. Move something from there. And so this is where turns can get really awkward for Nicolina.
These lightning bolts, they look like they're okay, but at the same time, you have 2 Doomhammers in your hand, and this is going to take away your entire turn next turn. That's actually a pretty big roll on a totem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking at Lightning Bolt here. And I'm curious if 2 of them can actually get played this turn, because once again, to restrict from the Sea Giant, and then to push 5 damage. So doesn't turn the Lightning Bolt into 5 damage this turn. This also brings the ability to draw Flame Wreath Faceless on the following. So I think I like trading in the Totem Golem instead of using the second Lightning Bolt here.
I do as well. And it looks like Nicolina's trying to bluff a card here a little bit too, like kind of taking her time at the end of the turn, playing with the card a little bit to make it look like she has another choice as well.
That's a good draw. That's a very good draw, and there is a very good result here. 25% of the time for Phone Tap gets the juggle.
That was huge.
That is gonna pretty much seal the deal, I think. Sea Giant's coming down next turn.
Well,
Thing from Below is a pretty good draw. Yeah, I will say that.
Lightning Bolt Thing from Below is actually pretty good here as well.
The Sea Giant goes 5, goes to 6. Yeah, Sea Giant still comes down, though.
And then it's just a pure race at that point. You're going to try to push some damage and get these Doomhammers going, but the double Doomhammer is going to be a big problem. Now, Nathan, there's an important question here. Which Doomhammer do you play?
The gold one, clearly.
I mean, is it really that clear?
Yes.
Well, okay, hold on a second here.
Well, Dark Iron Dwarf, I think, is better than Sea Giant now.
Yeah, I agree.
Which would mean Life Tap.
I mean, I think being at 27, I think you can afford a life tap here.
No, actually, like the Sea Giant's not contested.
I guess that's true. You've already, ooh, that does take care of the Sea Giant. And you've already seen 2 lightning bolts, so.
I think we're Doomhammering.
Yeah.
It's got to be Doomhammer. Doomhammer's clearly the play. I mean, there's
Doomhammer push here, right?
I think you clean up the Direwolf Alpha and the Argent Squire.
Do you clean up the Argent Squire?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't want power overwhelming to happen right now. That's like
yeah,
the
that's
worst
true.
scenario.
Yeah, exactly because of power overwhelming. Yeah.
Yep. Wow, that's a good draw. Yeah, well, not so much.
I think I just get this Dark Iron Dwarf in play too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4/4 on this board.
Yeah, I mean the race is on. You're trying to win this here as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is probably still cleanup duty for Nicolina.
Now, Rockbiter is still an interesting card. Like, let's say Nicolina drew a burn spell here this turn. Something else that affects the board a little bit more. Rockbiter could have been a really big draw here.
Oh, that. Honestly, that taunt totem really changes this a lot. I honestly don't know if I like hitting the Dark Iron Dwarf twice, or if I like hitting the Sea Giant once and hitting face once. I mean, this is tough. I mean, that taunt totem really changed this. Yeah, I think I like this better.
Dark Iron Dwarf, yeah. I mean, you have better trades if he doesn't have a way to take care of the 2/2 taunt here.
That's not a good draw.
You gotta love seeing the immediate life tap from your opponent too.
I don't know if Infinite Boss is enough. I mean, this Sea Giant's isolated right now. That taunt totem might have won this game.
I don't know about if it might have won this game, Nathan. I think it did win this game.
What type's on 13?
Yeah, he's got 5 power in play. Yeah, I don't think he has a draw in his deck. 2 draws in his deck that can win from here. I mean, he could get 10 damage out of hand, and that would be 15 if both of his minions get left over. He gets the other power overwhelming and another abusive sergeant, and that's if his minions stay in play this turn. And Nicolina might do, a play here to set up lethal and then remove a minion from play to make sure that she can't die from this spot. Is there a way for her to do that?
Well, if you
trade it for 4.
I think pushing face here is worth too much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I'm just trying to see if there's a way you can hedge your bet to where you can't possibly lose.
Well, if you attacked the Argent Horse Rider into the Flame Imp, the only way you would lose is to Leroy and double power overwhelming, I believe, or like Leroy power overwhelming Soulfire, some combination of that. Now, if you make this attack and you attack this and you attack the token, you're not dead to anything other than Leroy, power, and a buff. And it has to be exact on the 3 cards.
Yeah.
And this way,
Doomguard
sets up
doesn't get it
lethal next
done.
turn.
Yeah. Also, she's seen Doomguards from Phone Tap, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you can make the situation and know that there's no way you die from here.
Wow. What a comeback.
That was an amazing game.
Honestly, that thing from below changed a lot, and then that taunt totem changed even more from that one. Phone Tap, curious if playing the Dark Iron Dwarf instead of playing the Sea Giant would have ever changed anything there. And that's really the question for me, is because the Sea Giant got isolated. And that was like the big deal of that. Now, if he chooses to go with the Dark Iron Dwarf, he still loses his whole board, and he's got Dark Iron Dwarf versus a thing from below and a Sea Giant stuck in his hand. So I think in hindsight, the Dark Iron Dwarf is strictly worse. But the Sea Giant got isolated, and that's one of the ways that Shaman can actually win that matchup, is just by cleaning up the board with Doomhammer over and over again and not taking the face damage. The thing from below, kind of a big catalyst to that game in terms of putting a lot of damage on the Sea Giant, pushing a lot of damage to face, being a cheap threat that kept you from taking 16 points of damage or whatever. It's a big deal.
I think the Sea Giant's probably correct, just because you have to go through so many hoops to make it bad, and then the other play is more often bad. It's like probably more punishable. I mean, it's splitting hairs at this point, but I think Sea Giant is less bad.
Here we go. Game number 4. Yeah, I think so as well. Game number 4. Nicolina looking for the first win in this broadcast with the Cthulhu Warrior. I have to take on Phone Tap and the Zoo first.
Got one of her most important cards in the matchup already, Nathan. She's got a Ravaging Ghoul in her hand. But she needs to find some Cthulhu cards early. Needs to really turn on this Ancient Shield Bearer. That card's really big in this matchup. Puts a big body into play, plus gains 10 life when it comes into play. Bran, not a terrible 3-drop in this matchup if you have nothing else to do, because the Warlock deck has to kill it. It's way too high of a priority to deal with, and it just buys you some extra time if your hand has nothing else going on.
Yeah, it's the pseudo taunt.
Mm-hmm. Love that phrase.
Now, pseudo taunts aren't as good when you're playing against Zoo.
Mm-hmm. Because your minis pretty much have taunt anyway. They're gonna trade. Trade is the place.
Ready for action.
Yeah, I'm gonna say phone tap is ready.
You know that Goldshire Footman guy is just having a heyday right now.
Oh yeah.
That Goldshire Footman Twitter guy.
I'm embarrassed to say I have played decks where I actually put Goldshire Footman in my deck.
That's wrong.
There
It's
may have been
definitely
some
wrong.
Hobgoblins, possibly some bolsters.
Oh yeah, I have played possibly some bolsters. What? That's the deck list I want to see, or rather, never want to see.
Well, I mean, it's not around anymore. It's not standard legal, Nathan. I can't wreck people in standard with it.
Anything but my bolster Hobgoblin Goldshire Footman deck not being lethal anymore, or lethal, not being
Well,
not being
same.
standard anymore.
Same.
Phone tap's digging deep
So-
on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might be worried about giving away his shield, honestly,
I think the
because of cards like Ravaging Ghoul.
I think the shield might be worth more than the Goldshire Footman.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, if you trade in with this and there's still a Ravaging Ghoul next turn, I mean, you still have ways to trade with the Abusive Sergeant. So, yeah, this is fine. Get this Voidwalker into play. Yeah, I guess over there is fine as well. And there's no way you get like super punished on this turn for 4 mana.
I can't think of a way you get punished on this turn.
I mean, this is looking like a repeat performance for this deck for Nicolina. It just looks like she's struggling every turn to answer what her opponents are doing.
Yeah, I mean, Elise does present a little bit of a problem here.
Yeah, Elise is feeling kind of out of place to me here in some of these matchups. I mean, obviously the card is very powerful in certain matchups like other control decks, but she's just not running into those decks at this point in the tournament. You know, these people are putting a ton of pressure on her every turn, and it's not really the card you want to be spending 4 mana right now on.
Yeah, I mean, Phone tap may just be at liberty to kind of ignore the board position as well and just start pushing damage.
I mean, Brawl has to enter the back of his mind, right? You know, when you see Elise, you're like pretty sure there's 2 Brawls.
I mean, I definitely would think that, but does that mean trade or does that mean push damage? Because if you're going to get brawled, you're going to lose your board a lot.
Yeah, I think it means push damage, honestly. If he's going to abuse a Sergeant again here, I got to believe this is a trade, though.
I don't even know if I like that more or not.
I mean,
Well, this-
I kind of don't, since you have a Forbidden Ritual in your hand, plus a Peddler, plus a Villager. I mean, you have some recovery, but, I mean,
Well, the thing about
leaning on
it,
Forbidden Ritual is so bad in this matchup, though.
the thing about it to me is that this is really trying hard to bait out a Ravaging Ghoul,
Mhm.
which opens up the Forbidden Ritual.
Mhm.
So I don't mind.
That's a heads-up play, yeah. And you see Nicolina is going to have some hesitancy in playing it. I mean, at some point in time, you have to. Like, you're forced in a situation where if you don't, you're going to die.
Looking at Bran. Looking at that
Yeah.
Bran Ravaging Ghoul next turn.
That looks pretty good to me.
It's going to be Cthulhu's chosen first.
You get this Cthulhu up to 10. That's very
Honestly,
important.
To phone tap this, he may look at this and go, man, there's not a Ravaging Ghoul in that hand.
Mhm.
Doomguard's looking pretty good here.
I 100% agree with you.
I am going to be very hard pressed to not play Doomguard this turn.
You get in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get in 16 this turn with the Doomguard.
I think putting your opponent at 7 is pretty good.
With a board of that size, yeah, it's hard for me to pass up getting my opponent at 7 there.
Now, if you put your opponent at 7 and you see Revenge, though, do you actually lose after that? That's something to think about, too.
Yeah, I guess you get Revenge, they push 4, and you just, like, kind of have to try to regroup from there, and you've lost 2 cards. Maybe that is actually something to be thinking about. I mean, it's it's easier when you get to see the hand and like there's no revenge, no brawl. Which there's kind of a revenge in the hand over there. I mean, we're gonna get the double ravaging goal.
Yeah, it's pretty solid here.
Even it's gonna clean up this possessed villager as well.
So 13 is sort of the number I'm curious if you'd rather be at 13 than 12. I don't actually even know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I definitely play around that card as much as I can in these situations. If you're like, the 1 damage doesn't matter, you definitely shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, Brand Ravaging Ghoul is just so good here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you do this, you're going to lose this guy. But Bone Tap's going to lose all of his guys.
Yeah, that one is, Whoa, interesting.
Oh, it actually does spawn a 1/1. Okay. So that happens twice before your death rattle happens.
Yeah, Battle Cry.
I guess that makes
twice.
sense.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Haven't seen the old Brand double Ravaging Ghoul with a Possessed Villager play in play before.
Yep, Phone Tap still with some pretty good stuff here, though. Knife Juggler, Voidwalker, and then Forbidden Ritual. I think he's going to feel safe. Will not go with the Voidwalker.
It's going to go 4 1/1s here. Another Ravaging Ghoul sitting over Nicolina's hand here. Also, she is at turn 7. She could gain 10 life here at some point, but you got to believe she's going to want to clean this board up as much as possible. And
oh, yeah.
you have to take care of this Knife Juggler as well.
I think Shield Slam is on the menu this turn.
Oh, yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6. Can't cast that map if you're going to Shield Slam also, so it looks like trade instead?
Yeah, maybe trade.
I mean, you can't leave the Knife Juggler around. That's preposterous.
Yeah. I think I like having my Ravaging Ghoul here than getting 1 card deeper. But maybe she just values the Shield Slam higher here because you get to go HP Shield Bearer plus Shield Slam here or something like a huge Councilman comes out this turn.
Or just a Doom Guard. I mean, those are both considerations right now.
Yeah, I kind of like this play now, the more I think about it.
I didn't say we were ordering the Shield Slam. I said it was on the menu.
Yeah. We were waffling back and forth.
Yeah. Shield Block was not on the menu that turn. It was... They have it, sure, but...
The waiter said it didn't look fresh today, at this turn, so like he doesn't recommend it at this time. You're probably better off choosing something else.
I don't think I ever want to eat at a restaurant where the waiter tells me it's not so fresh today.
I mean, if it's a fish restaurant, man, sometimes they're like, you just
throw that out.
Stay away from the carp today, buddy. It's been here a day or two.
That revenge looks awfully tempting, but this looks even more tempting. Gain 10 armor. Kill a Darkshire Councilman.
The Cthulhu's getting pretty big here, too.
It's not a swordfish. It's a shield fish.
Oh, wow.
Get it?
We went there. Oh, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it all right.
The question should have been said. No, just it.
Argent Squire, I imagine it's Doomguard and tap rather than get Blood Imp on board.
Mm-hmm.
And, ooh.
Yeah, second Blood Imp, second Doomguard.
I like how both of us are like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know how trade is ever on the menu here.
Just with the restaurant puns, love it. Just keep them coming.
There's one direction here for Phone Tap.
That's upstairs?
Oh, yeah.
You can gain a lot of armor again this turn if you want. Even get a Revenge in as well. And this is a fully powered Revenge as well.
I think you just push 9 and gain 10. I guess Phone Tap kill you from that spot. Go to 24, 25. You go to 26.
Yeah, you get to gain 2 more here. I actually like this play a lot. Push damage.
I'm okay with the value trade. I'm way okay with that.
I mean, you're still kind of threatening lethal. I mean, you have 15 power in play. Your opponent's at 16. You are a warrior deck. There's a lot of ways you could find damage here.
We'll take his Councilman. And there's second Doomguard. It's a lot of armor to get through. I don't know if he can get through this, honestly. And he's got to be worried about Fiery Warax, too. I mean, this may be a trade. Yeah. Like, now suddenly...
I think you have to trade something. You have to trade at least into the
I think if you trade one thing, you consider trading 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One trade, two trade. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
The old, yeah, the old revenge, kill your guy, Twin Emperor's turn, huh? This is a pretty good one. Is there a better line than doing revenge Twin Emperor's this turn?
Well, shield block might just be better than the revenge. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Not really seeing much of a reason to revenge here, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it only takes 5 power off the board.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with both the Doom Guards with the Twin Emperors, like, how do you lose this game? You lose this game if Phone Tap literally gets so wide on the board that he manages to find a way to push through. And that's it. Yeah, Twin Emperor, indeed. Tannen just slammed his head on the table. He couldn't believe that Twin Emperor got drawn this turn.
Yeah, Resident Sleeper actually happened.
You can see it in Phone Tap's face. He knows this is not good. Possessed Villager is no help.
All right, is there a way for him to not die? There'll be 10 power in play if he trades here, and then
The
he's at
problem
14.
is you're taking 10.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is your reload.
hey man, I'm trying to figure out if he's not dead. And this is
Not
your
yet.
reload. 2-4-1-1.
He's got the best dance moves around, though. Like a man possessed.
Couple cards get it done here. I'll say Cthulhu is probably good enough.
That could be one of them.
All right. Is there a way to guarantee Cthulhu kills? I think it's at 12 power or 14.
I didn't catch a glimpse there.
Well, we know it's over 10 for sure.
I think it's 10 exactly. I also just choked the board position out. That's totally fine.
If you trade here and then play Cthulhu, what happens? Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Yeah. This is going to be just too much. I think
Phone Tap's going to need to draw a death wave.
Well, there goes everything.
If he wants to win this
Even
game.
with the trade, I like it. Just flawless victory. I want
Just
all of
assert
your
dominance.
permanents. Yeah, I want everything. There's a card you can tap into, and you know what? There's a victory for Cthulhu Warrior.
Indeed, that's a series too. Nicolina takes it 3-1 over Phone Tap in this one. Just not able to get it done. I mean, every single step of the way, the Cthulhu Warrior checked what was in play. Honestly, it looked a little bit bad there during the Elise turn. And I think that was like really a critical turn for Phone Tap, where if he had gone with the push on the Abusive Sergeant, sure, he would have been losing minions in the process. That would have set up the turns later with his Doom Guard to just continue to push damage. Instead, he kept getting into spots where it looked like, how do I need to trade? Do I need to trade? Over and over again. And in that matchup, if you give the Cthulhu Warrior enough time, they are going to put together extremely powerful turns. You cannot give them the time. And so my only thought in this last game anyway is, should have Phone Tap have been more aggressive? Thrown more caution to the wind. I mean, sure, you get punished by a lot of stuff, but how else do you win that matchup? You're not going to win the long game.
Nah, their turn 7s are way too powerful. You have these like Ancient Shield Bearers, you have these Twin Emperors and stuff like that happening. Yeah, you're just not going to be able to recover from those situations. I mean, these 2 large taunt minions are gaining 10 every single turn. You can't push enough damage at that point. So, I mean, once he traded that one turn, I think it's correct the way he played the rest of the game. But as you say, I think you can revisit that turn and see if pushing is correct. But as we know, that's not what happened. It ended up Nicolina, good showing here in this top 4. Not the finish she wanted, but I got to say, I was very impressed by her play.
Yeah, Phone Tap takes home $50 and 5 GEICO points for his efforts. Nicolina, $150 and 7 GEICO points. See if that's enough to maybe get something rolling here. And that is our third match of the day. So our next one coming up will decide who wins this tournament and moves on to that feature tournament that's taking place with a $6,000 prize pool. They will also walk away with $500 for first and 10 GEICO points. Second's going to be $300 and 9 GEICO points. So still some play left even outside of the prize, outside of that major prize that's involved with this one. So our last match of the day is coming up. Before we get into that one, we do want to thank the sponsors for this event, GEICO for being the title sponsor of the entire circuit. If you guys insure anything, and I mean anything at all, GEICO can save you money on it. Head over to geico.onog.gg and get yourself a free quote with it. You can also sign up to win a CyberPower Gamer Extreme 1000 PC. They're just giving it away. It's just free for you. Just sign up on the website. And you can also sign up for Open number 10 that will be taking place. If you want to compete on camera like this, if you want to find yourself in that feature tournament, maybe find your way in PAX. Open number 10 is going to be your last chance to do it for this circuit. August 2nd is when that next one's taking place. Again, sign up on the website, geico.onog.gg. It is only open to U.S. residents, and you do need to be 18 years or older in order to compete, but it's there for you. Feature number 5 will be taking place on August 4th, 5th, and 6th as well. So shortly after that Open takes place. Our last match coming up right after this one. Don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone right after this.
We hunger for vengeance, rest for the angry dead.
Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Circuit Open number 9. We're in the finals of this event now. It's been a long fought battle for these two players, and here they are to take on each other in one single match of Hearthstone to determine who will be moving on to feature number 5, I believe. 4 number.
I think it's 4.
Now that
I know
lost
it's probably 5. Yeah,
apologies. I should definitely know that. Wow, I'm really feature number 5. I'm sorry.
Played one of them.
Yeah, man. I just come on, man. Yeah, apologies. Feature number 5. I really should have known that. I can't believe I didn't. But either way, here we are. I am Nathan. That's Admiral Zamora, joined by the Tan and Grace. Yo, it's Flo. Won his first match very convincingly over phone tap. Fatalocity able to pull off that reverse sweep from behind. Down 2 games. Won 3 straight afterwards. It's going to be Fatalocity and Druid, Mage, and Shaman versus Yo's Flow with Druid, Shaman, and Warrior. Now, call me crazy, but I'm going to say the player with Warrior's got an advantage in this match.
Yeah, I mean it's like one of the most powerful classes out there right now. But don't count out Tempo Mage over there with it's got a Yogg in it, and I'm a big fan of Yogg. There's more Yoggs in Velocity's lineup than in the other one. I'm a big fan of that. You know who else is a big fan of Yoggs, Nathan?
Who? Who's
My
that?
puppy. My puppy is also a big fan of Yoggs, and she wants to see more Yogg-Saron. Sorry, she ran in the room when the feed started. I just can't say no to her face, so I had to get
She
her on
can't say
camera
no
for
to Yogg-Saron.
No, she can't. She loves it. All right. Anyway, sorry.
I picture the dog in like one of those lab coats playing Hearthstone and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then you see the Yogg-Saron happen and they just win anyway.
Yeah, the gif of I have no idea what's going on with the dog. Yeah. Oh, she has outfits though. We already have stuff for her. So
Glad that you've gotten into the dog fashion
hey, man.
side of the world. It's where I always pictured you.
Mm-hmm.
We were younger anyway. I just always knew it.
Yeah, cutest dog in A. Not close. I mean,
Always-
got the best jawline, got the best dog. It just makes sense, Nathan. It just makes sense.
It's spotted a mile away. Go into this match as quickly as players are ready for it. And again, this one's sort of for all the marbles here. Winner of this one finds himself a spot in feature number 5, but also a little bit of prize up for grabs in this one. Difference of GEICO points, of course, 10 to first, 9 to second, and then also the prize money that's available here is 500 to first and 300 for second. So just at the very, very least, a $200 match taking place between these two. And I've seen a lot of Yoet's Flow in the past. Played a lot versus him on ladder. Fatalocity was really, really new to the style when I saw it today. And there was a lot of conservative play that I saw from Fatalocity so far. And that is kind of like I would say my one criticism is just the conservative play. Really relying on Flamewaker rather than just the power that Mana Worm can unlock in those Tempo Mage games and seeing what he can do. But was still able to win the match. So here we go. It's going to be Tempo Mage for Fatalocity and Yoet's Flow. Get up that Shaman. There's a Compia Lightning Storm. We did see an Elemental Destruction in Fatalocity side. In Yoet's Flow, you look at this Lightning Storm, you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't really see that much Lightning Storm in Shaman anymore. Well, this is a mid-range version, so you're going to see a lot of different style of cards from the traditional aggro versions that we've seen a lot of.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see like Azure Drake. You're going to see Fire Elemental, some stuff like that. So it's going to have some pretty cool stuff in those kind of versions. But, I want to go back to your point about the Fatalocity. I got to agree with you. You did seem a little timid in his last match, maybe, overthinking some spots, underthinking other ones. And I'm not trying to harp on the guy. As we think, this might be one of his first, real big forays into the tournament, Hearthstone, or at least one of his first, big streamed matches. And there's something to be said about, like, it getting to you a little bit. I remember my first big feature match in any tournament. I kept thinking in the back of my head, oh, I wonder if this play is correct, and I wonder what people at home are thinking. And that is not something you should be thinking about when you're playing a competitive match of a card game.
I remember one of my first matches on camera, too. Tannen drew a card that was in his sideboard instead of in his main deck and got an automatic loss as a result of it.
Oh, yeah, that definitely happened. It's also on the internet for all the world to see for all of time.
Yep.
I'm going to pay someone to take those videos down.
Just pure game loss. I'm gonna pay Ben Blywise to put him back up.
Oh God, name
After
drops.
We'll start a big bidding war there.
All right, you'll
Hero
probably
power.
win. You make all the big caster bucks.
Oh yeah, all 7 of them. Is gonna be ping for Fatalocity on turn 2, and that's gonna be Tuskar Totemic for Yoet's Flow, and that's always a scary one to see. And Manatide Totem, this is already brutal for Fatalocity. Either he's taking a lot of damage and not being able to answer the actual board pressure, or he's having to give up card advantage. And neither of those options are appealing right now. And this is just part of the power of Tuskar Totemic, is that 2 out of 3 of these rolls are a nightmare to deal with. One of them is Manatide Totem, the other one is Totem Golem.
Yeah,
that's 1 out of 7.
Yeah, either one of those coming off is just a nightmare. Either side you're sitting on, because here's the thing: Fatalocity can play a Sorcerer's Apprentice into a Frostbolt here, but doesn't actually answer any of the power that's on this side of the board that Yoet's Flow has. Now, he gets a mirror image as well. This is going to kind of slow down the Shaman deck most, but this is a pretty good Lightning Storm as well if he wants here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I wonder, after what I just saw from Fatalocity, if Lightning Storm's really got significant value this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my thought process is. Now, the difference between this, if he chooses to Lightning Storm this turn, he's really relegated his plays in the following turn. So can he do something better? And honestly, after what I just saw, not sure that he can.
Yeah, and this continues to put Fatalocity in a weird spot. I mean, you just saw him kind of use everything he had the last turn to deal with this Manatide Totem. Now you're left to power and play, and he's in the same kind of situation. That's an interesting card added to Fatalocity's hand too. Not very good in this matchup, but if any matchup ever goes long, like you have to play multiple turns, that card can get a lot of value.
Yeah, the problem with Kabbalah's Tome is really finding the turn to cast it. I mean, that's the
exactly.
hard part. If you take the board, that's different. I mean, a lot of cards are really good when you take the board. So it's just going to be Forgotten Torch this turn, and it's a little bit of a slower turn for Yode's Flow, but as he's seen now, Frostbolt and Forgotten Torch, this Tunnel Trog suddenly looks massive.
Yeah. I think I would have maybe liked to see the Tunnel Trog on the left here, but I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference just for, Flame Tongue Totem turns, but I don't think it's actually going to matter much.
I look at this hand from Fatalocity, and I'm wondering if I need to Kabbalah's Tome this turn.
I think you almost have to.
What is he picking up with Arcane Intellect that's really making this better? I mean,
but there's a lot of really good cards you could find with Kabbalah's Tome too. You can find Blizzard, you can find Flame Strike, you can find Ice Block. Ice Barrier isn't even terrible. It's gain 8 life for 3 mana. It kind of keeps you in this game a little bit, possibly. I mean, there's a lot of cards you can find here that are pretty good. The problem is, if he does play it, this takes up his entire turn. Yode's Flow is not overloaded in any way next turn. And you're about to take a lot of damage. You're not answering this Tunnel Trog.
This is about to get ugly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Yode's Flow wants to, he could push a ton of damage this turn.
Yeah, I'm curious if the Flame Tongue comes out here, or if it's going to be...
I think you do.
The Totem. And the Flame Tongue it's 4 extra damage right now.
Yeah, it still makes your things from below cheaper. There's not a lot of good answers for 6 mana here. Blizzard is like... Blizzard, and Frost Nova are like the cards that can keep Fatalocity in it, but neither one of them kill this board.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably just game. Like, the Arcane Intellect, I mean, it'd have to be... Even if it was perfect on the Arcane Missiles, you're still looking at taking too much damage, I think, on this backswing.
And what's perfect? It has to kill a minion. Like, it has to kill
Tunnel or Tunnel Trog, or both.
Yeah. You need it to be real good.
Well, it's the real good is just about gone at this point.
Yeah, you get to fire off another one. You could play a mirror image, but it's not going to be... Well, there goes Tunnel Trog.
Wow! Well, that's about as good as it's going to get. But I still think it's not enough.
Yeah, and I definitely like getting a thing from below into play this turn as well. Play around Flame Strike as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, but I mean, what value do the totems actually add at this point? It's basically none. The thing from below lives through a Flame Strike, and so does the Argent Squire. So this is at least 6 more damage you're pushing on the following turn. And that's just probably going to wrap it up. Again, it can stay alive like with a Fireball, but you're gonna be at 1.
And that's a spot that you pretty much can't ever win from, because these Tempo Mage decks don't really have a way to gain life. I'm trying to think, is there a way that he can survive till turn 10 to play a Yogg and have something crazy happen? I don't think there's even that play available to him.
Yeah, probably not.
7, 8, 9.
Draw Flame Strike, your opponent doesn't have anything.
Yeah, well, he's actually just dead this turn anyway.
Yep.
So
Rockbiter finishes up this game that was pretty darn easy for Yode's Flow. That great start with that Manatide Totem forcing some removal from Fatalocity's hand, and Lightning Storm cleaning up the minions that were on board. Which is a very convincing win from him. I've been seeing a lot of mid-range Shaman put up results. It does kind of make me do like a double take and think, like, are the mid-range decks good enough to outclass the aggressive builds of it now? And that's something I've thought about a lot, but I mean, just me personally, my style's always been to favor aggression.
Right. No, you like to attack. I'm aware. You like to get into the red zone, but I mean, thinking about the deck just from a theory standpoint, it has Lightning Storm, right, which is really good against all the aggressive decks right now. I mean, it's very good against Zoo. It's good enough against Shaman, and then you're pretty good against a lot of the Warrior decks, right? I mean, like traditionally, mid-range Shaman has done very well against Warrior decks, and if pretty much every lineup's gonna have Warrior decks.
Wow, Fatalocity has a natural ice block in the Tempo Mage build.
I guess this ensures you get a Yogg Saron off.
Sometimes. Well, he's going to take it on turn. Flow with the Druid build. It's Living Roots on turn 1. And this token Druid can really get going early on sometimes. I'm curious if Fatalocity's ever ripping this Arcane Missile from the start. Here is going to.
Yeah, no hesitation there. And the old perfect one.
Yep. So now I'm curious if the Power of the Wild comes out here. Versus the Mage, something that's really important is to just be getting stuff on board to answer the 3/2s that your opponents play.
Mm-hmm.
The Cult Sorcerer is really good. Sorcerer's Apprentice is very good. You need to do something to try to occupy time to get to your later turns. That's where the Druid can struggle in this matchup, is by falling victim to the name of the deck, the tempo of the game. If you fall behind, it's really hard to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like just getting the 3/2 in play. I mean, most likely because your turn 3s are going to be awkward. There's really nothing going on here. Plus, you know, if Fatal Velocity is spending his turns answering all of your stuff instead of, you know, playing stuff himself, I mean, it's a good spot for you to be in with how slow your hand is, because this is a pretty slow hand from the Druid player.
Yep.
This is a good turn. Yeah.
So good. I'm actually curious if he rolls the ping onto the 3/2, if ever holding this mirror image could be better. Just for the second Flamewaker.
That's actually a really, really good question, because you could go Flamewaker into the mirror image next turn. Yeah, I think that's actually like a pretty interesting play line to think about.
Yeah, I'd like the Frostbolt here to try and better ensure the kill on this Violet Teacher. Misses both juggles.
Yeah, has to do a trade in here. Not the end of the world. This is like, you know, if he swipes here to kill this, you're not, and there's the swipe, you're not super angry, but he's not developing.
You know, I'm not sure he had to trade in there. With a Flamewaker in hand, like, you have a lot of potential. I mean, your opponent, they're not just going to like go wide on board all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, the more you say that, yeah. I think I like just pushing damage.
Now here, we're going to see Fatalocity play that safe route, which is going to. So Forgotten Torch first. And the juggle. So Mana Worm does have one less power here. There's really... You didn't see Swipe last turn, but your opponent played Azure Drake. I think there's a real consideration for actually holding the Mana Worm in this spot, which we saw him do in pretty much all the other games. He's going to follow through on that as well. This is a spot where I think I like it, but at the same time I don't. Because if you play the Mana Worm and you force swipe, that means the second Flamewaker can come down.
Yeah, now this isn't the worst swipe turn in the world, because your 7, 8, and 9 turns are pretty caught up. Like, you know what you're doing on those turns. You're Ancient of Warring, you're Ragnarosing, and you're Onyxiaing. If you swipe face here and then use a hero power, there's an 0-1 left over, and like it kind of sucks, but it starts to make your Ragnaros better as the game goes along too. It starts to clean up the board. It keeps the board from getting too cluttered for your Ragnaros to make any kind of effect as the game goes on.
That's the case. I think you just swipe to 0-2. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I guess that actually works out as well too.
Yeah, what's the extra damage providing you right now? I mean, the way you're going to win this game is
just
your heavy-handed minions. I like this. Good spot from Flo. Well, I'm liking Kabbalah's Tome.
Yeah, Mana Worm, Kabbalah's Tome, not bad. Good save on the Mana Worm last turn too. See what we get here. That's actually not terrible.
Yeah, Flame Lance isn't that bad. Now, the Arcane Explosion and the Ice Barrier are pretty terrible. But outside of those, you know, that Flame Lance is pretty good. Not where I want to spend 5 mana, of course, to get a Flame Lance. But
I mean, it does answer a Ragnaros straight up. I mean, you could use it to trade into this Ancient of War here as well.
The Arcane Explosion's not that bad either. It answers Onyxia.
Oh my god, yeah, it's actually really true.
Well, it answers the 1/1 portions of it anyway. This is going to be Flame Lance and trade.
And ping.
And that's going to be Ragnaros.
Yeah, this does put initiative over to Its Flow, and he gets to get an 8 damage this turn, which is pretty good. And there aren't many 1-for-1 answers in Mage for this. You know, I don't think he's playing a Polymorph, but I mean, we've seen some cards that are a little odd in his deck.
Did just see the Flame Lance.
Yeah, I will say we did just see Flame Lance.
Ragnaros is good to go.
Yeah. It's not often that you get to say that. You're like, well, my opponent Flame Lanced my minion last turn, so my Ragnaros is just going to, you know, rule the board here.
Yeah.
On turn 8.
Maybe an arena. Maybe.
Yeah. These would be some good arena decks. I think even I could get 12 wins with these decks. Oh, well, Roaring Torch, not terrible if he wants to go for that. Looks like he does.
Ripping the Arcane Missile. Oh my gosh. It's a 50-50 of whether or not Ragnaros dies this turn.
Oh, and he gets it on the last one. The way he Fatalocity reacted there, I thought he actually missed it for a second, you know, because they see it a little bit before we do. Oh, well, and look at the grin on his face. He's like, I got this this Arcane Explosion
Is this
card.
good? Is this good?
Yeah, is this good? Well, he's got Flamewaker, Arcane Explosion here. Both of these hit. Okay, both of these hit. Yeah, he can hit here. All right, he gets it down to 2 now.
Here we go. Here we go. He's hoping for it.
Oh, he misses it by 1. I was supposed to say, he
Yeah.
had a lot of shots at this.
Honestly, I wonder if trading the Anixie is right.
I mean, you could, if you want to push 8, because it gets him to 9, you could charge Druid of the Claw here.
Well, he's got the Ice Spirit. I mean, he doesn't know what the secret is, so that's like.
Yeah, that's
first
true.
step.
Yeah.
So he knows it's not Mirrency now. Now he knows it's not an Effigy.
Yeah, and there's Ice Barrier, so.
Now, that attack happens, and you go, "Oh no, is it Vaporize?
Yeah.
Just lost my 8/1."
You get that little pit in the bottom of your stuff, and you're like, please, no Vaporize. Innervate actually gives him his Raven Idols this turn if he wants, but yeah, he can hold on to this for, you know, some big turn later. Now, paying into Ragnaros, this is a pretty good, solid turn for Fatalocity here as well.
Tell you what, I think Flo would prefer if it hit his minion. I'm
Yeah, I
not
think so as
entirely
well.
sure though. So now the real thought begins.
Well,
Or does Ragnaros kill me?
Well, you have both Innervates here, so you could trade along with like Wrath and Living Roots, depending on what you get off like your Raven Idols and stuff too. So you get to do all this first. I mean, that is 1 mana to answer this Ragnaros here,
Yeah,
and your
give him
opponent's
2
at 17. Yeah, you give him 2 cards, but is he getting 2 or 3 more turns?
Well, it's Tempo Mage, so we're talking fireballs,
Yeah, that's
frost
true.
bolts. I mean, you got to worry about that sort of stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that Ragnaros is going to be answered a little bit differently. I mean, the Starfall does answer it too. You just occupy a lot of your resources. So 5, 6, 7 to answer that. You have 2 Innervates left over, so you're looking at 6 mana. I think I actually like the Arca Nature.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think he's just looking for Healing Touch.
Yeah, honestly, like Feral Rage or Healing Touch.
For no one.
I'm just gonna have to go.
Moving. That
Arca
Rook is
Nature
burning.
actually answered it for 3 mana too. I didn't
Yep.
consider that.
So yeah, he gets the trade here, and then he just uproot 1 time. Let's do it. Uproot.
It's down root.
It's always down root.
Time waits for no one.
Do you like fitting in the hero power here? Get yourself to 10.
You know, I think I do actually.
Mhm.
Which it seems kind of silly, but where's the use of the Innervate really coming in this game? We've seen a lot of heavy threats from Flo already.
Well, the thing is, if you get yourself to 10, then you can get to 11 next turn, because that's how math works, right? And then it keeps away the like 1 turn, 2 card kills. They can't go like Fireball, Torch, Ping.
Well, oh, there's the Yogg.
Well, this game might get a little dicey here at the end.
I'll tell you what, when Flo sees the Frostbolt hit the Ancient of War, it's one of those, oh thank gosh moments. Uh-oh.
We might get the Yogg answer Yogg turn.
I thought Tan's head was about to explode with the way that he threw up his arms just now.
Praise Yogg, Nathan. Come on.
Yeah, take out the Azure Drake. Hero power to 11 here. This is
I would hero
close game.
I would hero power every turn of the game if I could here, unless I'm killing my opponent.
Does Fatalocity just jam the Yogg here?
Oh yeah. Well, it depends on what you draw. But yeah.
No, with that one you don't, because the mirror image
gotta
can
have-
protect you from their turn.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you did pick up another cheap spell to make your Yogg better next
Yep.
turn. Otherwise, you praise the Yogg and you pray.
I think he's going to keep waiting too. I mean, the Flame Strike and Arcane Blast, he can get more value here. Now I'm
True.
looking at Flo's side though, and I go, do you ever Yogg? The answer is once again no. He's got 2 Wild Growths, so plenty of gas to work with.
Well, Wild Growth is actually 2 Yogg triggers, so they're worth a lot here late in the game. If you get to Wild Growth on 10, it starts to make your Yogg so much more powerful too. And he can taunt up hugely here as well.
Yep.
I am ready to
I'm going to continue the hero powers.
Yeah,
This point.
I like the hero power every turn, as I said. If you're not killing your opponent here, this 1 life can really, really matter. Has he seen a Fireball yet this game? I don't think he's seen Fireball. He's seen Roaring Torch,
I don't think he
right?
has seen Fireball. Yeah, that's a good.
Ooh,
That's
I'll say
there.
Blood Mage into Flame Strike into there. Oh, this is a full clear here. And
Well-
Nathan, we might be seeing it.
This is getting really close to spelling Yogg. I mean, all those hero powers just got chipped away. Lost his board. Can't answer that water elemental. It's
Here we go.
Yogg Saron.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, it gets another Yogg Saron. I hope he didn't click end his turn.
Ooh.
This is real. Excavated Eagle. Okay, so it let him click into the turn. That's what happened. Okay. That Solemn Vigil was pretty cheap. A lot of minions dead this turn. Blood Acre. Okay.
Oh, this is... I don't know.
Oh, there's so many Yoggs! This is the most Yoggs I've ever seen, Nathan. Oh, and he's gonna heal this turn, too.
That's the wrong order, Yogg.
Yeah, that's the wrong order. Okay, well, one good Yogg deserves another one. There is an Excavated Evil in his hand now, though.
This is a weird forward state. I don't know what's right.
This is so awesome.
I don't know what's right. It's the Yogg!
Alright, here we go. We're gonna have Yoggs 3 turns in a row unless the game ends here.
Missiles is the lead. Any damage from Fatalocity is good right now.
Alright, there's an upgrade, actually. Let me upgrade you. Double Circle of Healing, alright.
Beast Yogg. Uh-oh.
Okay, well, down to 7.
4 damage it's dealt now.
Okay.
Grab a beast.
Alright.
Make it a
That's a big Yogg.
10-5.
Oh, no. No! Where's it going? Oh, it's going to space. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that Yogg Saron is huge! Oh!
Where's this going? Oh, okay, it's on the mage. All right,
Heal. It's an ambush!
Oh, yeah, he's got possibility to draw multiple ambush here.
Someone's out on me.
It's an ambush!
Already does. Right, there's another ambush. There's a chance this Yogg Saron dies, too. This is 16-9 Yogg Saron.
Wait, can Flo ever draw lethal here?
Well, he can just Yogg into it.
Well, what I'm saying, I don't know if there's
just like naturally? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has a Paladin secret up, I believe.
So it's a noble sacrifice.
Okay, noble sack. Okay. All right, here we go. Spin the wheel.
We're Yogg again. This is great.
3 turns in a row. Okay. Well, oh no, this actually kills him.
Oh no. He's just dead.
Oh, God, come on. I would have at least made that the last thing that happens. At least get the Yogg. Come on, Hearthstone. Why do you have to take my fun from me? We had a situation to have we got 3 Yoggs in a row. We could have had the 4th Yogg in this game. And then Hearthstone takes it from us, Nathan.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben Brode.
Fatalocity.
Have your announcement back.
Puts his first point on the board here. So even series and Druid versus Druid, Warrior versus Shaman. So the Shaman and the Warrior are the split differences between these two. The Mage actually was the spot that I was worried about the most, I think, for Fatalocity. But his Yogg was really good.
Well, I mean, it did play like 12 spells.
It just dealt so much damage. Don't always expect that. So Tempo Warrior is the deck for Flo. Fatalocity, queuing up that Shaman. That is a copy of Ancestral Knowledge that's in his Aggro Shaman as well. Very uncommonly seen lately. We saw a lot of that early on and not so much lately. This may be the big risk to go for it here. The old double Tonal Trog. Hope he doesn't have a Fiery War Axe into Ancestral Knowledge here. You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, if there's no War Axe here off the top of the deck for Yoet's Flow, he is taking a ton from these Tunnel Trogs.
This could spell some real trouble. Well, Slam could be a reprieve from that later down the road, but...
Yeah, I mean, he's even got the Rockbiter behind this to help clean up a little bit. Well, I mean, the Ravaging Ghoul is going to help out a lot now.
Now I'm curious if Totem's better.
Do you think Fatalocity is the kind of guy that's going to Totem here? He has been, you know, pretty hesitant on some of the aggressive plays.
Very conservative. And so I think the Totem is just... Oh my gosh, she even rolls the Healing Totem.
That's actually big here. I mean, it doesn't stop it from Execute, but it does save it from Ravaging Ghoul.
Which is the real important one, I think.
Now, you do get the... you did pick up Armor Smith. That's actually a pretty good draw here. But is it better than just playing a Fierce Monkey? Dude, Fatalocity's rocking out over there. Calm down, man. You're going to break the camera.
Well, that Flame Juggler makes this awfully interesting. And we'll take the not-interesting play. So it's just a pass. Looking to that rock fighter turn this turn.
All right, looks like we're gonna have these board stalemate kind of things going on here, but is Fatal also gonna find a way to break through this easily without having to give up too many resources to get through here? Now he can use the rock biter to trade with a tunnel trog into the Bloodhoof Brave and actually have it stay around.
Yeah, which that's like really the important part of this turn. You just trade in the wolf, maybe. I don't know if you go face.
The only thing is you get no other play this turn, but I think that's just so powerful that you just get to do that. Plus, it's going to have 2 health after this turn is over, so Ravaging Ghoul still doesn't kill this guy.
Yep. Yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, this is probably an execute turn, given what just happened. And now it's probably a double execute turn.
Yeah, the old Ravaging Ghoul, kill both your guys.
I don't know, though. I mean, he says at 25, so like, how much pressure is he really under?
Yeah. He does get to armor up here along with an Armor Smith. This isn't terrible. He gets the Ravaging Ghoul as Armor Smith the next turn, unless Fatalocity wants to run his minion into it, which I feel like Slow would be okay with that.
I think Fatalocity is going to be okay with that, too.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a double Totem Golem. Giddy up.
Do you just Argent Horse Rider here instead, though?
No. I'm playing the double Totem Golems. I want my 3/4s.
Okay.
Well, we're going to lead with Ancestral Knowledge. In fact, so maybe you do play the Argent Horse Rider.
The Element of Structurals added into his hand is going to be real good in this game.
Yep, so Flow. Ooh.
It's a Whirlwind. Whirlwind plus Ravaging Ghoul here. You can get some stuff done as well. Leave behind just the Healing Totem if he wants, but it looks like he's going to just, fit in his armor up here. Yeah. I mean, his life total is so high here. You get the Malkarok next turn. I think you actually want to armor up here because you have Malkarok and you're probably going to be trading with whatever weapons happen.
That's and a big draw.
You're just praying to God, no Curse Blade.
No Curse Blade. The fact that that's a thing is funny to me. But I can tell you he's praying for Gorehowl.
Yeah, Gorehowl would be really good here.
Well,
the Gladiator's Longbow.
The Corcoran Elite does offer some differences here too.
Gladiator's Longbow would be pretty good here too.
Yeah, a lot of really strong weapons, and really only one that's like incredibly so underwhelmingly bad that you don't want to see it, which is the Curse Blade.
Yeah. I like picking off the Healing Totem there, because if he trades into your 6/5, or you get to trade your 6/5 into a 7/7, your Whirlwind can kind of clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where the 7/7 goes.
Can you miss 7 damage here? Yeah, it looks like he's thinking
not.
no. Yeah.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah, you don't even have to Whirlwind now. Oh, you can do it this way, actually. Yeah, you can Bloodacre here, trade, Whirlwind. You get all of it, and we can start pushing damage here. And you get to fit an armor up. Now, he does have a few Taunters left in his deck. He has, like, I would assume, another copy of Fierce Monkey, another Bloodhoof Brave. So if he gets to turn 10, Varian Rain could possibly pull out a Taunt minion.
Yeah, this is really going to boil down to, I think, this turn right here, which...
Oof. 4, 5, 9 now.
I think I like the Destruction here, honestly. Like, where else are you going to use that card?
Yeah. No, Yoatsfall does need to draw a card here. He actually has the only card in his hand that's not castable going into turn 9. And his weapon doesn't really do anything on this board. It kills a Healing Totem. That's actually not the best draw, because it's like something you kind of want to hit off your Varian Wren. You would have much rather draw like a higher impact card, but I mean, it's better than, say, like, I think he should both his Execute, so he couldn't draw Execute here.
Yeah, that's that one's all right.
Yeah,
those draws are okay.
Yeah, it's not lethal just yet, but it's gonna be pretty hard to lose from this spot, barring some insane shenanigans off of Varian Wren. There's like maybe one Taunter left in his deck, the second Bloodhoof Brave. He's already been through 2 Fierce Monkeys and a Bloodhoof Brave.
Wow, he's not playing the Totem Golem.
Wow.
I'm really surprised by that. So Flo just plays the Varian. He's like, I hope this works.
Well, no trigger there. And is this Bloodhoof Brave? It is not.
Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Lethal damage for Fatalocity next turn with that Lava Burst. will take his second game here. And so It's Flow going to be down 2-1. Fatalocity, despite drawing that Elemental Destruction, just has enough pressure to keep it up.
Yeah.
That double Tunnel Trog start was incredibly powerful. It did not get answered. And that's sort of one of the big differences in this matchup is when Fiery War Axe gets drawn, you can stifle that opener. When you do not have Fiery War Axe, you're in trouble. And it's like the last situation.
There's a reason they call it Fiery Wind Axe. I mean, it's just amazing in almost every single matchup, and it's so important here. Also, I mean, how good was that healing totem early in the game?
Oh gosh, that was another brutal thing. Is that was the totem that was the most relevant. I mean, typically speaking, it's a taunt totem is the best one, and then the 1/1 totem is generally your second best. Against Warrior, that's not always the case because of Ravaging Ghoul. That healing totem dealt a lot of damage effectively because it kept that Tunnel Trog alive.
If I was It's Flow here, I would mulligan this Fiery War Axe purely out of spite for it not being there in the last game. Like, you didn't show up last game, I don't want you this game.
You know, Tannen, I'm going to take a very controversial stance here. I'm going to say he shouldn't mulligan the Fiery War Axe.
Explain.
Well, you see, Fiery War Axe created a strategy.
I actually haven't heard that meme in a while. I missed that one. It's not often you get to be like, back in my day, this was our meme,
Back in my day, this was our meme.
Yeah. It's a meme in a meme. It's memeception.
Origin of memes.
Oh my god. Are you really checking this right now?
Yeah, I want to know what it would...
Are you going TJ on me Googling stuff in the middle of the match?
A field of study called memetics arose in the 1990s to explore the concepts and transmission of memes in terms of an evolutionary model. I knew that.
Oh, I knew that.
The word meme originated with Richard Dawkins in 1976 in the book The Selfish Gene.
Well, I guess we've all been getting memed on since 1976. Memes are older than I am, Nathan.
Son, I was memeing before you were born.
Yeah, exactly. Memes are older than I am, Nathan, and I'm old.
What's Flo going to go with the feels bad man axe here? Back of those 1/1s is always like a situation where it's one of the worst feelings that's out there. Your opponent still leaves behind it's like attacking a possessed villager. Like, it just doesn't feel very good.
I mean, and you have so many cards in your deck that just answer it so cleanly, and then when you have to do that, not only does it signal you don't have it, but your opponent is just like, yeah, I'm okay with this. It's got in so much damage.
Now, double Bloodhoof Brave is going to put an abrupt stop to this. Fiery War Axe, you can see why it's so incredibly important, just the value that it's got in this game.
I kind of want to talk about a card that's in Fatalocity's hand right now. There's a Soul of the Forest. Now, this is a card that I dismissed in these strategies early as just like cute and like, yeah, nice arena card, etc. But the more I've played with it lately, you get some situations where you Soul of the Forest and it's really good.
Oh, yeah. Soul of the Forest is actually kind of in here for the control matchups where you make a board of 1/1s, you innervate Soul of the Forest, and then suddenly your opponent has to have multiple board sweeps where they can't lethal you.
Now,
I'm sorry, or you can lethal them, rather. I don't know why I said that backwards.
Yeah. I was giving you a second, let you catch that one, but it's now Fatalocity did pick up Innervate here, which is like kind of a big deal because now he actually can start playing spells. But his hand doesn't do that much this turn. That's the problem here. Like, you have a Feral Rage to take care of this Blood of Brave if you want, but then you're leaving behind another one, and he can just It's Flow can just value trade into it, giving him a 5 toughness Blood of Brave. That's actually kind of hard for Drew to deal with from this spot, and you're just not doing a lot this turn.
I wonder if there's a consideration for this. Now, you can't Savage Roar Hero Power. That doesn't work. Yeah, he's just got pass. Wow, what an awful turn. That's like that to me is the turn of the game that's going to be the most critical, is the fact that it was so weak for Fatalocity.
Yeah.
And honestly, I look at this turn from It's Flow. This isn't very strong either. I mean, he gets to turn this into a 5/5 and get a 3/4 on board.
He's got 2 Wisps of the Old Gods. Nice. All right.
It's not that surprising, honestly. This is kind of like the deck that will play them. Wow, this is 2 back-to-back weak turns. I think Fatalocity's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
wow, that is a hot draw.
Yeah, this was pretty good here. There's an Acolyte of Fate off the top here.
Is this okay? Is this one good?
If so, why?
If so, why?
I went complete sentences, cite your sources, let me know.
I don't know if ALS is going to have the time to overcome this. I mean,
what does a man do against such reckless hate?
well, I'm looking at Wisp of the Old Gods, Innervate Solar Force. I mean, this is the turn he was trying to set up, but the problem is he's facing down 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's facing down 13 damage. So 6 more damage will kill him.
Yeah, chance that Malkarok can just kill him off the top here.
What's can I get lethal back this turn?
You have to make some kind of play when you have it in this matchup. You can't just leave the 1/1s in play if there's ever a chance you could do anything else, because there's just too many cards from the warrior deck to kill you. Was that a Curse Blade? I saw a 2/3. I thought it was Curse Blade for a second.
I mean, Flo has to be a little careful here. I mean, did he even count what double Savage Roar would do?
Okay, so double Savage Roar plus swipe is probably an easy lethal from here, right?
Well, I mean, this might be.
Is this enough?
That's lethal.
There's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 27. Yeah, I think this is lethal.
Wow. Flo, I think, acted way too fast that turn. I mean, if he did Armor Smith, this would have prevented the lethal.
And this is to win the tournament, too. This is unbelievable.
That's it. Fatalocity just won.
Yeah, we're both just shocked. I mean, he did nothing for 2 turns in this game. And then it kind of lulled Yoet's Flo into this sense of, this false sense of security that I can't lose from here. And the Fatalocity's like, no, I got this. I'm shocked.
Would Armor Smith have won that game, maybe?
I mean, if he just gained a couple extra... I mean, he had a lot of extra damage that turn. I think he had, 4 more. I don't know if Armor Smith gained enough life, but there should have maybe been... Well, okay, so if you the problem is if you trade, he gets 2/2s, right?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. You trade into one of the minions. You play Armor Smith. You run an Acolyte into one of the guys. You draw a card. Then you evaluate where the rest of your trades go. I mean, he just acted so quickly. I mean, he could have Whirlwinded.
Yeah,
he could have Whirlwinded, traded in 2 of the Blood to Ichor tokens. There was a lot that he could have done that turn, and instead he chose to do none of that. He just instantly played the Malkarok.
Right. So if
he didn't even think about it. Even if his conclusion is still Malkarok, he didn't even think about it. And that is my issue with that.
I agree. So if there's 7 1/1s and you Whirlwind to kill 2 of the 2/2s, at least find 5 2/2s, there's 10 power in play versus 7. So you need to kill 2 more to actually net damage. But then there's the X bodies with Savage Roar plus, +2/+2 on there. So you actually start getting diminishing returns once you lose.
You can kill 4 of the 2/2s.
Yeah, I think you have to do that. I think you have to Whirlwind and trade into at least 3 of them to start really netting.
You could kill 4 of the 2/2s and gain 6, 7, 8. You can gain 10 armor afterwards too. Plus the hero.
Yeah. I mean, if you Whirlwind
and you draw a card to evaluate. Wow. I don't want to harp on it too much. I mean, the pressure situation is really there. Yeah, long day as well. I think he really got fooled by the 2 turns of nothing. I honestly think that happened, and he was like, I win.
Yeah, not to mention, I hate taking breaks in tournaments, long breaks where I'm not playing, and you have to, wait for the 3rd place match to finish, and then you get to play your final. I feel that I always play a little worse. I'm kind of out of the zone or whatever you want to call it. You have tunnel vision for the tournament, you're ready to go, and you have to wait an hour and a half for your next match. I've always hated that in any tournament that I've been in.
I'm right there with you, but that's going to do it. Fatalocity takes it 3-1 and wins the tournament. $500 and 10 GEICO points plus a seat at feature number 5. Big congratulations to Fatalocity here.
Yep.
Yoet's Flo going to walk away with 9 GEICO points and $300 for the efforts in this one. But yeah, great job to Fatalocity coming through the open bracket, finding his way in that next feature that's taking place. You can find your way there too with Open number 10 that's taking place on August 2nd. You can head over to geico.onog.gg and sign up for that one. Maybe find yourself in feature number 5, just like Fatalocity did in this one. This was Open number 9. It takes place out of a circuit of 10 open events that are taking place with $1,000 prize pools that lead in those feature events. The 5th one's coming up soon. Those are $6,000 prize pools. The way you advance to those is by winning those opens, the one I just told you to sign up for. If you manage to win a feature, you can find yourself in the PAX Prime Final in August, a $25,000 $100,000 prize pool. The complete circuit has $60,000 in prize pool total, and that's insane for an open circuit that's taking place. It's only open to U.S. residents that are 18 and older. So if you're in that category and you've been looking to get into some competitive tournaments, this is the best one out there to do that. As we come to a close as well, we want to thank the title sponsor for this event, GEICO, who has made a lot of this possible. I promise you, if you insure anything at all, GEICO can save you money on it. Head over to geico.onog.gg and get yourself that free quote, as well as sign up to win a CyberPower Gamer Extreme 1000 PC. It's just free, once again, on the website, geico.onog.gg. And also thanks to Video Game Voters Network, a grassroots network of gamers encouraging the esports community to get out there and vote in 2016. They host a lot of giveaways and contests and stuff like that, too. You can check out their website, videogamevoters.com. And I think that's going to just about wrap things up. Tannen, do you have any final words before we come to a close?
No, congratulations to Fatalocity for winning this tournament, especially after we kind of wrote him off after those back-to-back just non-interactive do-nothing turns. And I'm just still flabbergasted after that game.
Brutal ones indeed. Just to show you, never out of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's a Yoggster on top deck available.
Oh, God. I will say this. Props to these guys for letting us get a triple Yoggster game. I got my fill. That's all I wanted today, and they did it for me. I wanted a double Yoggster game, and they won up to me. They gave me 3 with the possibility of a fourth. And lastly, just want to say thank you to you, Nathan, for being with me here today. One of my favorite people to work with in the entire world. You make it so easy. I mean, I didn't even realize we've been here, 4 hours, and it just feels like no time at all.
Yeah, same. So that's going to wrap things up for us today. For everyone here at the One Nation of Gamers crew, for Tannen Grayson, for myself. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.